Blackhawks fans, welcome to another edition of the Four Feathers podcast. It feels so good to be back on these airwaves with you all. I am GM Ron Luce, Tony Marchese, Blackhawks Cowboy, and our incredibly special guest, a true friend of the program now, and we're so happy to have him on. The one, the only, Ryan McGregor. Gentlemen, Ryan, starting with you. I mean, let's get right into this thing, shall we? Contributing member at Blackhawk Up, incredible YouTube page. If those don't follow, be sure to go subscribe. And in my opinion, Ryan, you have become a must follow for Chicago Blackhawks fans. And you're doing it out of Vancouver, of all places. First off, welcome to Four Feathers. Second off, how you doing? And let us know a little bit about you.
Thank you. That might be the greatest intro I've ever gotten of all time.
Let's go.
That was awesome. I appreciate that. Unexpectedly doing it all out of Vancouver. At first, I thought it was a disadvantage. I had, FOMO all throughout the year, but it turned out to be an advantage. I end up now get to be the guy that covers Bedard in the off season, and unfortunately cut short. I'm sure we'll get into that, but it's been a great opportunity, and I've been grateful to be out here for that. As much as I want to be in Chicago, and spoiler alert, my long-term plans are to be in Chicago, but being in Vancouver right now has its benefit for sure.
We love that. We love that. Blackhawks Cowboy, Tony Marchese. Gentlemen, how are you guys doing this evening?
We said the same thing when we were on that podcast for the Bowen Byram debate. I could be doing better.
Cowboy, it's really unfortunate that your first two shows on the Four Feathers podcast come up after news that is not, I don't want to say unfortunate, because obviously the Bowen Byram stuff was kind of depending on what side of the fence you were on, but controversial nonetheless.
Yes, controversial is a great way to put it, Ron. I mean, it's been a war zone, truly.
It's a great way to put it. Anthony, Tony Marchese, my good friend.
How are you, Ron?
It's not just us anymore on this show.
I know. It's getting crowded on this screen. I love it. I'm like Cowboy said, I could be doing a little bit better. Today was not the greatest of news, but we were talking about getting Ryan on this show this offseason. I feel like it's been long overdue. And I'm glad you're here, Ryan. We're going to try and have some fun despite all of the painful topics that we need to talk about. But Ron, you and I have been doing this for a long time, man. It's we're used to talking about painful topics.
It's a theme. It's a theme nowadays at Four Feathers podcast, unfortunately, especially considering the time that this show started. It was the decline of the Cup era. So we've yet to really cover a true winning Blackhawks team, and hopefully that changes in the not so distant future. Gentlemen, this is Bad News Blackhawks. That's the name of this 25th episode of season 7 of this show. We've been doing this for a long time. But Ryan, I want to kind of turn things to you a little bit here, because we certainly want to dissect what it was like growing up in Vancouver as a Blackhawks fan. And for let's just call it what it is. Right spot, right time. You are in Connor Bedard's backyard training. You were there when the injury happened, as we learned today. He has undergone surgery. He will miss 4 months, which really is about a month of the actual season. And of course, the rest of the off season now that is ahead of us. What was that like being in the arena? What was it just kind of breaking that news? Because you were the one that broke the news ultimately about the shoulder injury to Connor Bedard. What did that feel like? And I promise we'll steer this in a more fun direction about like what it's like being a Chicago Blackhawks fan in Vancouver. But I mean, you were there, you saw it. That's got to feel almost out of body in a lot of ways, breaking that news to Chicago Blackhawks fans from halfway across the continent.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I mean, the whole thing was just a crazy experience, a lot of lessons learned, and sort of in the moment, new territory and having to make all these decisions. Because, I was there for it, and I actually got it on video. So the second it happened, I cut the video and I started panicking, not just for Connor, obviously being worried about him, but having to make a decision in the moment of, if I'm going to break the news, how I'm going to break the news, what's the respectful and professional way to handle this. I ended up leaving the rink because obviously I'm not needed there. If I'm just going to get in the way of anything. So I left the rink after it happened and sat in the car, thought about how I'm going to handle it. But it was a scary moment. I mean, it went dead silent in there. There wasn't too many people, but there were definitely some people watching. It went quiet. You could hear him in pain. His dad was just on the other end of the rink. He, in a panic, went off to the locker room right away, and obviously felt bad for Connor and the family, but got to the car and, reached out to some people for advice on how to handle it. And like I said, there were some lessons learned, but I think I handled it okay. And it definitely, in the following days when the storm kind of settled, it was cool to be able to be the one to break that news. However unfortunate it was definitely a cool experience, an experience where I learned a lot for sure.
I'll tell you what, Ryan, because I want to give Cowboy and Tony the floor here as well. I don't want to be the only one spouting off and asking you questions. I think you're
doing great at it, though, Ryan.
Hey, I'm doing what I can. You handled it incredibly professionally, and I know you're a young journalist, right? You're very new in this game. You've done an incredible job building up your YouTube channel and becoming really, I think, an important voice in Blackhawks fandom, in my humble opinion. I think you broke it incredibly professionally. So take yourself with grace. But in fairness, I mean, that is a scary situation because you are the only one that genuinely witnessed it, that is in kind of that Blackhawks fandom space from a social media standpoint, from an eyeballs standpoint, from an ability to pass on news standpoint. Like that is it's one of those things where you get so used to reacting to things that it's a whole nother experience when you're on the other side having to react to something that nobody else knows yet.
Yeah.
And I think you handled it with grace. I genuinely do.
Thank you.
I agree.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I mean, I got no notes. I saw the graphic. I went, oh crap. And then I sent it to Tony and Ron. I'm like, I'm writing this up right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I think that speaks volumes too, Ryan, like in terms of you've built an incredible reputation, I think, within like the Blackhawks world of fandom and content creation and things like that. And so as soon as it happened, like from my seat, I think from Cowboy's seat, from Tony's seat, like we all took that with, oh, wow. Like, yeah, he's in the backyard. He's there every day. He's reporting on this. This has to be real. Why would you have no reason to make this up. You're like, I don't want Connor Bedard hurt either. You have
just end my career before it starts.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, I want him just to be healthy just as much as the next person. So, again, incredible. I think incredible job of how you handled it and things like that, and just in a moment of chaos. Truthfully,
yeah, it felt like chaos. I mean, it was. Yeah, no, I appreciate the kind words very much. Thank you.
Now, I think we need to get to some of the fun here because and don't get me wrong, we'll get back to the Bedard injury stuff here in just a second, but we need to lighten the moment for a second. What was it like growing up in Vancouver as a Blackhawks fan? Because that's kind of up there with like, you're not technically a rivalry, but you're close enough where there might be some hostility.
Yeah, as I was kind of saying to you guys earlier, it's a good thing I was a kid. Otherwise, I think I could have been in some danger, especially going to the games because I would go every year. I grew up in Victoria, which is on Vancouver Island. So it's a little island just off the coast there. I moved over to Vancouver maybe 5 years ago. But in Victoria, it's the same as Vancouver in the sense that Canucks fans everywhere. And I'd wear my little Patrick Kane jersey to school every day and get under people's skin. And I definitely liked being that sort of aggravator because the Hawks were always winning. And they only had me one time. That Burrows goal was the only time they had me. Other than that, it was I was always on the winning side, luckily. But it was good. I mean, that's part of the reason why I started doing this too, is because living in Vancouver, I wasn't around any Hawks fans. Like I wanted to feel like I was part of the Hawks community. I've been to Chicago one time. It was in early 2020, just before COVID. It was February. I went out there and immediately felt like home, surrounded by Hawks fans, just amazing people, amazing city. And I knew I wanted to be around that. And like I said to you earlier, the end goal is to be there one day.
Awesome.
And that's my goal. I just want to be around all the Hawks fans, be in the city, and it's an amazing place.
I'll tell you what, we had a personal conversation not so long ago, the three of us with Obi Clapbaum. friend of the program indirectly. Still have to get him on as a guest, but
Yes.
he said the same thing. Growing up outside Chicago as a Hawks fan, like you're yearning to talk to fellow Hawks fans, people that root for your same team, feel the same way about the same topics. And I'll tell you what, I think that has helped create a lot of great Blackhawks content creators. And Cowboy, you're kind of in the same position. You're down in Texas.
I had, growing up, everyone talked
Yeah.
about the Blackhawks. I moved down here, and I'm the only person that I know, like, when I first moved down here, that knew how to skate and play hockey. And like, it was definitely a culture shock coming down here, and no one knows what a puck is, and they only know like.
Are you telling me that they don't pay attention to the Dallas Stars down there in Texas, Cowboy?
So it was weird because I came right when they're on the upswing, but there was a time when I first went down here, they had just missed the playoffs. It was a year before the Ottinger heroics, and no one was repping the Stars, and it's been kind of cool down here since I moved. I've seen hockey get built in like this huge thing. They're building like rinks everywhere out by me, and kind of see that community like start to pick up. Or some of my friends that I first made down here, some of the buddies I still talk to, had no idea what hockey is, and now they're fans of the Stars, right? And so it's kind of cool to banter with them and have that connection. But when I came down here, when I first created the account, moved down here in 21, created the account in 23. That's because it was 2 years, and I felt like I was going insane watching like Patrick Kane leave and Bedard get drafted, and I had no one to talk to about it, right? So it was that same boat that Ryan was always in, where you're just like alone.
Yeah. And like I said, I really do think it's created a lot of great content creators as a result of it. And again, you guys are now a part of the community, and that's truly the coolest, I think, part of all of it. Obviously, Cowboy, you rolling with us nowadays, and Ryan, you doing your own thing as well. It's been really, really cool to see. But let's quickly spin this thing back here. Let's talk a little bit more about this Connor Bedard injury. We know it's a 4-month timetable. I don't know about you guys, and Ryan, I want to start with you, and then Cowboy Tony, of course, please chime in. I have a sense of peace now that there's a timeline. We know what happened. We know what's wrong. The surgery's done. Surgery. I would rather a guy get surgery to repair something and it fix than it's day to day or week to week or month to month, and we'll see what happens, which is kind of what happened to Connor Bedard during the season with the other shoulder. It's just nice having peace knowing, okay, he's out for a month. It is what it is. What happens next? But there's a definitive answer finally, because I think there was a point, and Tony, we talked sidebar conversations, Cowboy, I know we had conversations in our room. Ryan, you've been on Twitter, as is every other Blackhawks fan over the last handful of days. I think everybody was starting to borderline go insane at just what the possibility was of what's happening to Connor Bedard. Now that we know, I think there's a level of peace that I think all of us genuinely needed. And Ryan, do you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah, and like you said, like now we know what it is, and you can start game planning, or Kyle Davidson can start game planning essentially, and you can prepare for it now, and you can figure out a way to handle it and get through it. But it's just, I mean, I was shocked. I don't know about you guys, but hearing 4 months shocked me. Like I thought there was no chance it was going to outlast the offseason. I'd be curious to know what you guys sort of expected, but 4 months just blew me away. I didn't think it was going to be that bad. But I like you. I'm glad he's getting the surgery.
Yeah, I mean,
I've seen stuff out there too, though, that for this surgery and recovery, depending on what they actually did in there, was it torn labrum? Was it separated shoulder? We don't exactly know from what the Blackhawks statement that came out today what they exactly went in and cleaned up. So there's a lot of speculations. Saw a doctor quote that with 4 months is great, but NHL players do have perfect rehab conditions. It's not like they're traveling to PT. They're having people come to them. They're in premier facilities. They've got the best nutrition in the world. 4 months is 4 months, but I'm still gonna say, just with how the Hawks have been with Bedard, exercise caution. If this does slip to 5 months, I'm not going to be surprised on the other end either, just because, I'm conditioned right now as a Blackhawks fan that everything that can go wrong will go fucking wrong. And like that's just sort of what it feels like right now. So when I hear 4 months, I'm more thinking right now, and again, you can call me negative, Ron. I know you're rational, Ron, up there, and I can be
I'll call you
down here
negative
in the
later. Don't you worry.
All right, so I'm going to be negative down here. If it does go 5 months, the people are going to continue to start screaming.
Yeah,
this is not like we saw what happened last year with this team when Connor Bedard missed time. The wheels fell off. Now you're setting the tone for your season without your star player. It's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough.
In fairness, the Blackhawks did have a really good streak around the holidays without Connor Bedard.
They did. I was at that Dallas game. That was,
there was a point there where like they were kind of humming without him and Nazar, and it was kind of weird. And then things started to take off.
They woke back
to coming back. Yeah.
For me, we talk about this surgery. The good news with this surgery, someone brought it up, but Cole Caulfield had a very similar situation where he kept injuring his shoulders. He got surgery on it after the 22-23 season, and now he's a 50-goal scorer. So shoulder injuries, just being a smaller player, it comes with the price of playing the game. Talk about Kaner earlier off the show, Caulfield, Bedard now. The good news is that the other shoulder did not get surgery, but this shoulder did. It's good. It's taken care of. It's less likely to get re-injured when you have surgery. Obviously, it takes that down. The other shoulder is still susceptible, but I'm no doctor. That's just what I was reading on when I was writing that article covering it earlier. The other thing, like what Tony said, is everything that feels like it could go wrong is going completely off the rails. I made a joke earlier, and with someone I was talking to, like they probably operated on the wrong shoulder. Like it's just been that kind of off season, and just to have Bedard get hurt and you're counting on him to almost mentor guys like Cancerov to start the year, right? Because the way Kyle Davidson's talk about Cancerov, he's going to play line one, probably get power play one time, if not power play two. And now you have probably it's going to look like Bertuzzi, Frondel, Cancerov is your line one to start the year. And knowing how the NHL has scheduled these games, we had Pittsburgh opener followed by Boston that year. And then we have the Panthers last year, Colorado the year before, like the Penguins year. And it's just, it's a little nerve-wracking going into those games to start the year without Connor Bedard, the captain, most likely, right? And, man, yeah, it is what it is at this point, but I'm glad he got it taken care of at the end of the day.
Ryan, to kind of answer your question a little bit, I've been pondering on this now because I think that's a fascinating viewpoint that I didn't take into consideration. I was almost relieved that it was only 4 months because, and I'll talk about this from a football player's standpoint. I played high school football. I played collegiate football. I watched a teammate break his collarbone and miss the entire season, and it was like a 7-month recovery for him to be normal. So I heard 4, and I was like, "Oh, 4 is good." I was like, 4's tolerable. Like, yeah, he's gonna miss. And I'll tell you what, there's been some great comments already from our comment section, and we'll shout out a few of them here. Jason Hawks fan says here, he says the new 84 game season means Bedard misses more time than he otherwise would have missed. And like, yeah, but it's only 2 more games to the new season. So like, what does he miss? 1 more game maybe over the course of a month, and a month or change. I think if he's back by American Thanksgiving, that's a humongous win for the Blackhawks. And that's with like a ramp up period. And maybe he gets could you imagine if he gets a cup of coffee to go down to Rockford and like rehab stint and puts up like 12 points in like 2 games? Because that would be awesome. I don't know about you guys, but I think that would be the coolest thing ever just for the fun of it during a regular season. But I think there's a lot to be said about like, okay, 4 months. Yes. Sucks he misses the rest of the offseason. Yes, it sucks that he misses the start of the first month, but he comes back at a point where as long as this Blackhawks team can play semi-competitive hockey in the beginning of the season, like they still have a chance to make some noise and be a better hockey team next year. And let's be honest, and again, maybe this is the optimist in me, as Tony aligned earlier, rational Ron, as he called me. But I think there's something to be said about, okay, Connor's gone for a month, guys. Who's going to step up? Now we get to kind of see what everybody else on the team's all about. Jason Hawks fan commented a little bit more. He said Frankie Nazar needs to start hot and playing like he deserved that long-term deal. Frank Nazar, as of this moment, for next season, is the highest paid player on the roster. More so than Bowen Byram for next year because he's still on his 625 contract, more than literally everybody else. So is Frank Nazar going to step up? Is Anton Frondel going to step up? Are Bertuzzi and some of these veterans going to step up? Does Kyle Davidson make another move now potentially to kind of expedite that process to bring in somebody that can help? I think there can be a lot of positive growth out of this for the young guys. That way, when Bedard does return, I think we as fans, because we are at the end of the day, we do content, but like we're fans at the end of the day. I think we'll have a general consensus of where the team's at this year because everybody else now needs to step up in his absence to create offense. And I think it's going to be a fascinating thing to watch for the first month of the season, especially knowing he's coming back. This would be a totally different conversation if we were sitting here and it's Connor Bedard's going to miss the entire year. Vastly different, right? This isn't the Florida Panthers who just lost Alexander Barkov for the whole year, right? Like it's not that type of level of loss. Losing him for a month, it still sucks. Don't get it twisted. But I think it's a genuine opportunity now for the Anton Frondels of the world, the Frank Nazars of the world, the Nick Lardises of the world, the Oliver Moores of the world to show, hey, Kyle, I know my time's coming to get paid soon. Pay me. And I'm going to show you why you should pay me because we're going to pick up the slack while Connor's gone to make sure this team's in a position to be competitive down the rest of the course of the season once he returns. And I think that would be that step forward that Kyle Davidson keeps alluding to and that we fans would love to see. Like if this team is through, we'll call it 12 games, if they're 6-4-2 or sorry, that's not good math. 7-5-2 through
I wasn't going to drink today, Ron, until you started this little talk right here.
Sorry. But if they're in a position where all of a sudden it's like, wow, okay. Like they've played okay. They've played fine. I think that's could be incredibly encouraging and a silver lining, truthfully, out of this. Now, don't get me wrong. I'd much rather Connor Bedard be playing every single game this season. But if it's going to happen, at least it happens now and not in November. And then he's out until the end of March. And then you lose him for the entire duration of the season.
Yeah, I agree with you with the optimism in terms of everyone else on the team stepping up. Like, I think there's definitely a world where, like in my opinion, I think Frank Nazar should probably take that first line center spot and, maybe don't put that sort of pressure on Frondel in his first year. But there's a world where, Nazar, stays healthy, stays consistent, has a good start to the year. There's a world where Kanserov is what Kyle Davidson thinks he is. Byram fits in, plays well, Moore and Lardis take a step, Green as well. Like, there's a world where this team can definitely hold its own, I think, especially in, October, November. It's sloppy hockey. No one's playing great hockey. What concerns me is when he does come back, what Connor Bedard are we getting? Because missing camp and missing preseason at the start of the year, like we've seen that before with guys like William Nylander and Jeremy Swayman. They're just not the same when they come back. Like you can really see them missing out on training camp and the preseason and all that. And so if we get Connor Bedard like he was post shoulder last season, where he wasn't quite the same, he's playing okay, but not how he was at the beginning of the year, I think that's going to be a big factor in terms of what Bedard are we getting. Because I think if I were to guess, I think no training camp, no preseason, no first month it's going to be hard for him to come back from that and build up quickly to where he otherwise would be.
Yeah. I agree.
Go ahead, Cowboy.
I'm going to say I
agree.
And you mentioned everyone having to take a step. This has to be the year they take a step, regardless of the Bedard injury. Now, especially with the Bedard injury, if that makes sense, because, you're looking at Vlasic was talking about making the playoffs next year. Nazar they want to make the playoffs. Cole Smith came in. He's like, yeah, this team wants to win. They have to show it. And now, like, the Penguins back in their prime, right, with the Crosby Malkin, like 2009, 2018 Penguins, Crosby could go down. and they would stay afloat. I mean, Malkin won an MVP. It's a little different. I bring up 2015 Chicago. Kane goes down. They're able to stay afloat. You have to start building this identity of an actual team and not the Connor Bedard show that we've come to know over the past, 3 years? We're going on year 4. So to Ryan's point, you have to have these guys like Nazar making these jumps. Kanserov has to be an impact player because that's the way that this roster was constructed for this year, was Nazar becoming consistent, Moore becoming healthy after leg injury and coming back the same player, if not better. Lard is taking a step into becoming a better finisher. Green looking up when he passes, stuff like that. And so, in my opinion, that's the most important thing. And now we all get to see if it works and not hide behind Connor Bedard's 27% shooting percentage like he had to start the year last year.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, Lebowski fires me up a little bit here with this comment in a good way. He says the Hawks should not treat Frondell with kid gloves. He says he should be the number one center from the jump. Jonathan Taves was a one-season 19-year-old rookie on a much better team, and he was fantastic. Frondell is on that level. And I'll tell you what, Tony and I attended that Blues game last year at the end of the season when he was playing center. And although he didn't get on the score sheet, there was a few plays that he made where I mid-game texted Tony from our seats and was like, oh, I haven't seen a guy do that in 10 years. Just bodying people off the puck, keeping people away. I do think there's a lot of talent here that's going to make things very interesting. And you guys are all correct. Like this now shows like these guys have to take a step forward if this team is genuinely going to be better in the standings. Like if we're just objectively looking at it, what is the amount of points? Where do you finish in the standings at the end of the season? They're going to have to take that step in order to do it, especially now with Bedard's injury occurring. But I do really believe.
I don't know if they can take that step this year, just on what they have right now. I think that's the elephant in the room. As we sit here every year and we've talked about this is the year we're going to take a step. Or Kyle makes a comment about let's take a step forward. Now you've got Vlasic on record. You got all these guys on the record saying they want to be better. And as Cowboy said, it's sort of time to put up or shut up. Ryan brought up an excellent point too. With this. Okay, he should be medically cleared in 4 months, right? Is that last month him performing rehab, or is it still recovering? And Connor Bedard now needs an additional 3 or 4 weeks to ramp up. As
right.
Ron, you mentioned, all right, that's time in Rockford. If just looking at the calendar right here, October and November, Ron, you wanted to throw a target date out there. If he's back by American Thanksgiving, I believe that's going to fall on the 27th of November. He's already missed 23 games. You start the season with Florida, Boston, Montreal, Utah, St. Louis, Vancouver. And then there's also a stretch in here where you're on the road from Winnipeg to Edmonton to Seattle to Vancouver to Calgary and then fly all the way to Detroit before you're back home. So you got a long road trip from the end of October until the middle of November when they're back home on November 12th. Assuming that Bedard is back in there at some point, there's a lot of hockey being missed there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even just missing the full month of October, you're talking almost 13 games, 14 games. That's going to be hard to take a step if you get stuck in the mud right away. And we were already complaining about the offense a week ago before we knew Connor Bedard was hurt. Now, granted, Roman Kanserov, could he be a guy? No. What does this look like with a full season of Frondell? We don't know. There's so many question marks with this that it could go very high, it could go very low. I have a hard time predicting that they're going to show meaningful improvement just based on what projections look like. And now remove Bedard for a potential quarter of the season already? God forbid he gets hurt one more time after that, even if it's insignificant and he misses a week or two.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And I think
they need firepower.
Yeah.
Oh. They do. Now, all right, I'm going to open up a quick can of worms here before we pivot to all the other fun stuff on our docket, because it's been a while since we've been on the airwaves. If you're Kyle Davidson, gentlemen, all three of you, are you now really feeling the pressure to go make a move before the season starts to improve this forward group?
Without a doubt, 100% yes. Marchenko, Kane, Mantha, anybody, Ken Johnson. You have to. I feel like you have to, because right now I had Teuvo Teravainen, more as like a bottom 6 guy this year, fell off a cliff last year. He's probably your second left winger, right winger, second line wing, top 6 again. I don't think he's at that level anymore. As much as we hate to admit it, love Turbo, 2015 guy. He's old. He's getting up there. 2015 was a long time ago.
Our sweet prince that never should have been traded.
That's a different can of worms.
The one
in the can of worms. Too many cans of worms.
Indeed,
But
indeed.
I'm
Ryan,
wearing a Kane jersey because what's a better player to pair with this team to mentor Kanserov, to pair with Frondell, to mentor Nazer than Patrick Kane?
Do you think Patrick Kane's picked up a few words of Russian from playing with Panarin?
I don't see why not. They
I
connected
wonder
for like 50 points together.
I think that's a fun question to ask, right? Like, he's got to have picked up a couple of things.
Yeah.
Ryan, do you agree, though, that this team should make a move, or are you a little more patient?
Yeah, I agree. Like, looking at the lines, like, I don't know about you guys, but when I'm bored, I just like fiddle with what the lines could be next year. So before Bedard went down with injury, there was a clear hole in the top 6 on the wing. And to me, like, when I went on record and said, like, well, to me, I think they have a year of, you don't need to get somebody for the top 6 yet. Like, you can run Kanserov. Frondell is going to be up there for a full year. Give Lardis a shot. He looked good up there last year. Now without Bedard, yeah, I think like you have to. Now's the time to make the ad. I think for sure.
Tony?
Whether it's Kane or a young guy or whoever it is, you got to make an ad.
Sure. Do you agree, Tony?
I mean, I was asking for it before the injury, so
sure.
I want something, and if it's, I don't care if it's really 100% just Patrick Kane. I think he's an obvious fit. I think some of the question comes down to, do the Blackhawks brass want him back, or does Kane want to come back and be mentor man, or does he want to go try and compete? And I've seen that thrown around on X, right? Would Patrick Kane or any of these other guys want to come here and sort of babysit the back half of the rebuild? And this is where I get frustrated, because if that's the reason why Patrick Kane doesn't want to come back here, then there's something seriously fucking wrong with the rebuild at this point in time, because you just jettisoned off your whole entire veteran core. And now you're, analysts, even ourselves, are sitting here going, well, we might need someone to mentor these guys. Where are we at? So they need to add, like, we want to add firepower. I used that word earlier. You want to add someone who's going to be significant to this, not just, in my opinion, for mentorship purposes, but also someone who's going to be able to put puck in net. That's the most important thing here. If there's the ability to go address that and it's not Patrick Kane, I'm even happier. So just as we're talking about Teuvo Teravainen, I know Pat Kane's on a totally different level than him, but Kane is also old. What are you going to get out of this? Is this a 1-year stopgap? I still think even if you were to go out and add a Kane, I still don't think that's enough. I think they need a little bit more help up there, because is Patrick Kane the Patrick Kane from 2017, 2018, or even prior to that? No, he's not. So he's not going to solve all the problems. In fact, it could look bad there for a little bit. You're getting a different version of him. And if you've watched what he did in Detroit, he still has it, but he's definitely not the same. So I don't think that, like, just bringing in a name like on that level or of that age is going to just solve everything. I still think that there's a need for more.
Jason Hawks fan says here in the comments, prior to the injury to Bedard, everyone was asking where the goals would come from. Now Katie needs to make a deal. Lebowski follows it up saying, I have a feeling that Connor Bedard does not like Patrick Kane. I wouldn't want to piss off Bedard. So this is where I turn to you guys, because there were reports coming out of the West Coast today, because the Anaheim Ducks are a bigger shit show than the Chicago Blackhawks are right now, and have decisions to make about Leo Carlson and Cutter Gauthier and a bunch of other things. They need to clear cap space. And supposedly Alex Killorn and Frank Vetrano are not only available, but they are willing to attach draft pick capital to them. If you are GMKD, are you calling about both of them potentially? Killorn has 1 year left this year and then becomes a free agent. And then next year, you have 2 years of Vetrano at 32 years old, and a guy who's scored 20 goals in his career. He's a capable winger. Both of them are capable wingers. They're both veterans. They could be healthy additions to a shorthanded Blackhawks team. If you're KD, are you calling up Pat Verbeek and saying, let me solve your cap issues? Or do you think that's still not enough and they need to go for something a little more sexy?
I don't know if it's enough, but I would rather him do that than go get desperate and severely overpay for somebody maybe that moves the needle a little bit more. Because I think like I still have so much belief in this forward group, the young guys we have, and like obviously the Bedard injury really throws the wrench into this year. But I wouldn't go like operating like the whole rebuild is done for the forward core. Like going forward, we're still going to have, like I said, I still fully believe in these kids. I think we're going to have an amazing top six, even if we don't add in a few years. And I just don't think you sacrifice that to fix next year. So I don't know. I don't know if that really answers your question, but I'd rather him go get a guy like Vetrano and target a team like Anaheim that's in some cap trouble rather than get desperate and overpay for a guy like Marchenko or Matthew Nyes or Robertson, whoever it may be.
And I will quickly say this, Cowboy, before you get to your point. I think it's interesting the fact that we are now finally getting to a point again where cap casualties are a thing, because that kind of wore off over the last 2 seasons now, where like Andre Burakovsky was really the only cap casualty per se. And even that wasn't really a cap casualty. They just wanted to move off the contract. Now you have a team that's genuinely desperate where they're saying, shit, we have 2 stars. We have to sign. Bennett Senecki is right around the corner as well. We need to move off of some money here and try to make something happen. That could be a place where Kyle Davidson says, yeah, I'll take them and I'll take your assets with them. And then I can flip those assets for other assets to make my team better as well. Cowboy, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking with one of my buddies today, and we were talking about how Anaheim is completely screwed for the future. Before the reports came out about Killorn, I mean, you had to move on from McTavish, very decent, high potential guy. Now, Vetrano and Killorn, if I'm KD, yes, I'm picking up the phone, but I'm also going to see what would Gauthier cost. Maybe I flip the table on for Beak a little bit. Don't overpay like with the Byram deal. Don't give up like next year's first, but just call about him. And if that doesn't work out, you have Killorn and Vetrano. You'll be able to probably get a third and a fourth with them in return.
I think you could get more than a third and a fourth. They have 3 2s next year. I think you could get at least one of those 2s, if not 2 of them. Especially if you take both contracts, because that's $10 million.
That's a different story. I was thinking one or the other.
Okay, fair.
Considering that we already have guys like Cole Smith signed, Teuvo Teravainen, as we mentioned, Ryan Donato, they're already plugging up the forward pipeline. I feel like a Killorn would be like a 1-year solution where he can pot in. When he moved to Tampa, he had 20 goals, I think, at the minimum. I think 25 at one point.
He had 15 or 16 last year, even at 35.
Yeah, even at exactly. So I feel like it depends, how desperate is Anaheim, right? Because they're screwed. Philadelphia reset the market. Who knows how that affects Bedard? They have to move on from somebody, everybody pretty much. Because, like you said, it's not just getting Gauthier back on. It's Beckett Seneca, who has become a star in this league at 19 years old, I think.
Yeah, he's sick. And they've lost 3 defensemen because Carlson's gone and they've lost others as well. So that's I'll tell you what, guys. I don't know about you. This is a quick sidebar because I want to hear what Tony has to say. Watching another Western Conference team kind of fall apart when the Blackhawks are at this point in their rebuild is like, it's kind of satisfying, especially when it's the Ducks. It's just like, oh, you guys had a good season, and then it's all crumbling because your GM can't get his shit together and do things correctly. So I digress. Again, I take pleasure in other people's pain. But Tony, help us out here. But what are you doing? Are you calling Anaheim?
I'm probably calling Anaheim, but I think that's at least just bare minimum due diligence. If you're Kyle Davidson at this point, feel it out, see what you can potentially make work. I don't think he's going to be the only one calling, though. That's sort of the issue here. Is we've heard a lot about trades that we've called about, talked about making, but at the end of the day, it takes 2 to tango and figure out what what that price is. But Ron, I know you're a bigger fan from a GM perspective of like leveraging, they've got to shed salary. What can we take on?
Weaponizing cap space.
Yeah. I mean, is it smart where we're at right now? I mean, on paper, where it like works. They have the cap space to do things. We just haven't really seen Kyle do too much of that. You add some salary with this Byram deal, but there's still money available.
A lot of money available.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Are those names really going to move the needle a ton, or are you just more interested in the draft pick, Ron? Is my question for you. Like, just because you can obtain extra assets,
I think
weaponized down the road, right? Like,
yeah, I think the asset is not necessarily with the intention of making the draft pick. I think it's using the draft pick to be further capital to make a trade, because we've already heard from Elliot Friedman in the last handful of days here that has said the Blackhawks are going to be in on any available forward even if it's into the season. And first off, encouraging, good. KD, you should be aggressive. Go find a guy that's going to make this team better if it makes sense and you have the right pieces to make the deal work. Frankly, I think the deal for Bo and Byram, Cowboy, you and I sat on an episode and did this already, but I thought the assets were fine there. I really do. I think long term, when you think about what that means for the organization, excuse me, I'm not like overly concerned about what they gave up. You have 3 first-round picks next year. You could trade 2 of them and still have your own pick that's probably, mathematically speaking, going to be in the lottery in the top 14. Even if it's a bad pick, it might still be top 10, which, okay, fine, whatever. You're still going to get a good player. You're still going to get a pick. You have other assets. You have another second-round pick next year as well. If you get another second-rounder, another future 2, that's another pick that you can move in a deal for an impact player that can help you right now. And I think that's where KD's mindset kind of is. He's like, man, hey, I'll take a 36-year-old Alex Killorn if he's going to be a good veteran in this group for a year and kind of have the Pat Maroon and Alec Martinez effect from a season ago and say, hey, look, if you put up 15 goals for us this year, that's awesome. And I got a second-round pick that I'm going to flip and turn into something else in the next 2 months.
Yeah.
I think that's an okay business approach, especially right now when it's a buyer or when it's a seller's market, when Matthew Nyes would cost you number 4 and Anton Frondel. No, thank you. When Robertson's probably, he's in arbitration now. So if good luck getting him, he's going to cost you probably multiple first-round picks and assets, right? Every impact player is going to cost you things that might set things a little further back than where the organization's probably comfortable right now. Especially with young players. Like, It's one thing if it's draft capital, whatever. Draft capital is draft capital. But once names like Anton Frondel and Frank Nazar and some of these other guys become involved, like, you don't want to make that deal to go get that guy because you're not sure that guy's going to become some saving grace that's going to make your team all that much better. Yeah. So that's why I think it's kind of a fascinating topic to pitch, is just like, okay, if you can get another asset that's going to make you better down the road, why not go ahead and do it? The team.
I had to throw this comment up there. It was making me laugh.
It's a good one. It's a fun one. And this is a good comment, too, from Jason Hawks fan as well. Toronto, Vegas, Colorado all have cap issues as well because you go absorb somebody that has 1 or 2 years left that's like a middle 6 guy. And I think that's a position where the Hawks are at right now where you say, yeah, go do that. Especially if it gets you an asset, too. Like something else on top of it. If you can go do that, do it. I think that's where it stands when it comes to things like that. Gentlemen, I do want to turn, Ryan, I know we're running out of time here with you, so I want to quickly get to 2 topics. First, I want your reaction to the Bo and Byram extension and the trade and everything that occurred. And then I want to let you and Cowboy kind of have the floor and talk a little bit about the draft class as well before you have to leave us. So let's start off. How are you feeling about the Bo and Byram stuff?
I think like everybody else, I was shocked when the trade was breaking and it was coming out that it was the 4th and we were throwing more in. Like, I was shocked. And then the full trade comes out. I definitely reacted, not the greatest. It was a bit of an overpay, but I don't know. As a bit of time has gone by, not only am I not upset about it, I'm actually fairly optimistic about it. I mean, I think we overvalue draft picks a little bit, especially with this draft. You have McKenna and Stenberg, clear cut 1 and 2, I would say, in terms of talent. And the fact that like Chase Reed fell and that, kind of 3 on was just all over the place. It just shows that this draft wasn't great outside of the top 2. So I don't mind that Kyle Davidson traded the 4th, the 45th overall pick. There's like a 20% chance that player plays in the NHL. That's not going to help us now. And Louis Crevier, people are losing their mind over Louis Crevier. I know he had a good year last year, but he's what, a 5th or 6th, 4th maybe defenseman at best on a contending team. I mean, you can live with losing that. And with Bowen Byram, like, I love the bet on Bowen Byram. You have a 25-year-old defenseman who can play both sides, who put up 42 points last year with no power play time. He was second on Buffalo in the playoffs in ice time last year. He was crucial in Colorado's cup run. I mean, if you're going to take a gamble on anybody, this is the guy to take a gamble on, in my opinion. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about how I feel more confident in our forward core right now, like not future projection wise, but just right now, like in terms of this upcoming season, I feel better about our forward core being able to handle themselves in the top 6 rather than our young D being able to handle themselves in a top 4 role like Levchinov and Renzel. So I think the more immediate need was a defenseman. And like I said, I think Bowen Byram was the right guy to gamble on. It is a gamble, obviously, but I think it was a good gamble. And as far as the contract goes, I mean, it shocks people right now. People are saying, oh, he's the highest paid defenseman in the NHL. He's never going to touch the ice as the highest paid defenseman in the NHL. Like, by the time that contract kicks in, you're going to have Hughes and Makar making 18 to 20. And if 18 to 20 in a rising cap environment is the price for an elite number 1 defenseman, then 12.5, you're talking like what, low end top pair defenseman money. And in my mind, Bowen Byram is going to be at least that, a low end top pair defenseman. So he fits the timeline. He brings so much experience. He's got a cup under his belt. He's played over 300 games. Like I said, the more I've thought about it and the more time has gone on, I actually like the trade. And I think people, because of the sticker shock and how much they gave up in the contract, I think people are forgetting just how much this guy is going to help the team next season. Whereas if you drafted Chase Reed 4th overall, 1, he's not going to help the team for 4, 5, 6 years in terms of like being where you drafted him to be. And there's a chance he doesn't even turn out to be what Bowen Byram is now. So right. I like it. I'm cool with the trade. I'm stoked to see Byram next year. And like I said, I think people are kind of forgetting just how much he's going to help this team in September.
I think it's incredibly well said. Really quick, Cowboy. A comment here from Lebowski. I think this one's fun. He says Bowen Byram is basically young Brian Campbell. That's a fun comparison. And it would be great. I mean, you put it perfectly. Like, barely any power play time. 42 points as a defenseman is crazy. Is like the 3rd option effectively in Buffalo.
So Ron, we talked about it. We had a full 45-minute discussion.
Oh yes.
I was fuming. It happened, I think, the day or the day after of the fiasco that was Elliot Friedman. Felt like crushing my soul. But as the time goes on, you realize that Crevier's older than Byram. Wow, that's crazy to think about.
Isn't that weird?
That's really freaky. And then you realize that Buffalo took Daxton Rudolph 4th. Crazy. Could turn out to be great. Had him like 11th. Okay. 45th overall. I feel like we spent our other second rounders on a much, much 2 better players, which Ryan will get to very, very shortly. But
yeah,
we won't even bad trade. Not a good trade, but not as bad as what it was the day of.
And Tony, we will get to. I want to hear your Bowen Byram experience because Cowboy and I got to talk about it live on the airways. You have not yet, but while we still have Ryan's time, I want to quickly turn to the draft and just kind of sum up here these last 5 minutes or so. Xavier Villeneuve at 34 overall, Ryan Rubrick at 35, Samu Alalari. I think I said that correctly.
Yeah,
another defenseman. Another defenseman in the 7th round, Alexander Ivanov, and then William Subrand, forward with the 200th pick. How do you, Cowboy, you were super invested in the draft, Ryan, as were you. This is kind of your guys' moment here really quick before, Ryan, we let you sign off. How do you two feel about the draft, how the Blackhawks came out of this with, again, a little bit of movement, right? They trade a 2nd and a 5th to move up and take Rubric, ultimately end up with 5 picks. How do you guys feel like this draft class has helped improve the organization long-term?
Ryan, you can go first. I know you're short on time.
All right. I'll be fully transparent. Outside of Rubric and Villeneuve, I haven't done too much homework on the other guys, a little bit, nothing crazy. So I can't really speak to their games as much. But Villeneuve, I think, is a home run hit not home run that he's going to be an amazing player, but a home run hit in terms of like, he's a guy that I wanted them to take in the 1st round. And same with Rubric. I thought for sure they were going to trade back up into the 1st round. Kyle Davidson always does it. So I was kind of preparing for that. And Rubric and Villeneuve were both guys that I wanted them to go after. So I was happy with that. But more importantly, they're 2 guys that the Hawks don't really have much of in their system. More so Villeneuve, in the sense that like he's, the Lane Hudson type build, where you see guys like that falling in the draft, but the way the game is going, guys like that are starting to thrive and excel at the NHL level. And they don't really have a defenseman like that. You have size with, Vlasic. They did have Crevier, Levshinov. You have some shutdown guys. You have some offensive defensemen, but you don't have that small special skater, a guy like that. And so I think the risk on him is good. I mean, he was talked about as a guy that could go in the top half of the 1st round, approaching the draft. They had an animation on screen during the draft where some of these prospects had ranked in certain skills according to scouts, and Villeneuve was top 5 in, skating, passing, agility, playmaking. Like, he was up there in like all these skills. And I think the reason he fell obviously is because of his size. We see that a lot now. So he's a guy that I'm really happy they took a gamble on, and Rubric as well. Like, his whole thing is his work ethic is why he fell in the draft. And if the Hawks can sort of correct that, I think he has the potential to be a really skilled power forward. He's big too. He's a centerman. I like it. And again, we're at the point in the rebuild where, they have a ton of draft capital. They have a ton of prospects. Like, I'm okay with them taking some picks on guys that have potentially really high ceilings, but also really low floors. And that's what Rubric and Villeneuve are, in my opinion.
Definitely. Ryan, really quick, Cowboy, because I know, Ryan, you have to run. So just a quick plug moment for you. Where can everybody find your work? Where should everybody follow along with you in order to keep up with your content?
All social medias, it's Blackhawks Conversation. On Twitter, it's Ryan McGregor, CHI. And then I write for Blackhawk Up as well. So if you want some of the written work, Blackhawk Up is where to find it. That's normally where I write about the Bedard offseason training. Obviously, that's done for this summer, but the following off seasons, that'll be where that happens.
Excellent. Ryan, we appreciate you joining us so much. I know you have to run. You're the best. We can't wait to have you back on again. And thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I definitely want to do it again sometime. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Ryan. You're the best. We appreciate you. Ryan McGregor, incredible guest, joining us here today. Cowboy, I'm going to turn this thing right back over to you, my friend, to continue your thoughts about the draft. And then Tony and I will continue to chime in with some of our thoughts before we get back to the Bo and Byram conversation.
All right. So I've done a lot of digging. I covered all the draft day announcements for On Tap.
And you absolutely crushed it, by the way. Shouts out.
Thank you.
Big round of applause to that.
But I did a lot of digging on these prospects, and I really like the direction that we went here with this draft. So obviously, Ryan talked a lot about Villeneuve and Rubric. Those are 2 guys that I had extremely high on my board. I had Rubric going late 1st round, and I had Villeneuve at 15th. That high, mid 1st round.
That's encouraging for someone like me who did 0 homework again.
Love Villeneuve. I love his game. Think Hudson's, right? And then he's going to BU where the Hudson's played to get developed. But if he can develop a defensive game like Lane Hudson has, where he doesn't play the body, he plays the stick, he plays the puck, he plays the passing lanes, where he indirectly affects the opponents, he's going to be a great player. Because I'll tell you what, he could run power play 2 behind Byram today for the Blackhawks if it wasn't for his defensive maturity. He's that good creatively. He's that good with his skating on the blue line. Elite prospects had him ranked top 3 in skating, skating ceiling, puck handling ceiling, I think shot ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
He's so insanely good from the point. He has great vision. And like we said, his size, he's a little bit smaller, but he's going to Boston University. If you saw what Sasha did this offseason, while he was still kind of with Boston, but he went from, in 2 years, he was like 170 his draft year. Now he's 205, 210, I think. That's a lot. That's some serious weight. I mean, if you've seen pictures from Dev Camp, he's gotten huge, which is great because he's going to be playing pro hockey.
He did put on some pounds.
Yeah.
Some real big
man pounds.
Yeah.
So
that's what he
if
did.
Villeneuve fills out, a tinier frame at 5'11", but you place him with a guy like Lev Shanov, who's a bit bigger, that's a very dangerous combination. And then we'll talk about Rubrek. I'll get through the depth guys quickly, but Rubrek, I'm not sure if you guys remember, but he was the 4th ranked prospect during the preseason.
Yeah,
he was a top 5. There was talks about him dethroning Verhoff and McKenna for first. He had 84 points in his draft year -1, got injured, and that caused him to look lazy, right? He takes shifts off. We all did it while we were playing hockey. Obviously, that's not something you want from your 35th overall pick, right? But he brings something. He is a pure goal scorer. Big physical guy. I think he's like 6'3", 210 already. He's going to be playing with Golf as one of their leaders when they host the Mem Cup next year, which is going to be big for spotlight and pressure situations. And I think it's a really good pick because he brings something that we don't have a lot of in our top 6. And he's one of those guys where it's almost boom or bust. I have his floor as like a Daniel Sprong where he doesn't play defense, but he can pot you 20 goals. Yeah, I know.
That's a name.
I don't know if you guys want to add anything. I don't want to like just ramble.
I think I think you and Ryan did a brilliant job of covering it. I think just the quick things I wanted to add was with Villeneuve. I remember looking at his elite prospects page, and you get to see where all the elite prospect scouts rank them in their draft year. He was a top 20 prospect, by about half the scouts.
Yes.
So when you're talking, because this is the way I look at the NHL draft. There's the metrics are out there. You can probably find them and Google them. Any player drafted after like the 8th overall pick of the NHL draft has the same likelihood of making the NHL as a long-term player as a guy that was picked in like the 3rd round.
Yep.
So in those 1st and 2nd rounds, you're gambling on traits, and then you're hoping you can develop those guys. That's where you can find those kind of talented players. Sometimes you find superstars, right? Like Tampa Bay is a great example. Nikita Kucherov was a 2nd round pick, right? They found a guy, he had traits, they developed it, boom, you have a superstar. But then you also find guys like Brandon Saad, who are really good hockey players for a long time in a team that absolutely fills a need, and they do what they need to do, and they have a good long career. And yeah, maybe they're not a Hall of Famer or anything, but they are very good NHL players for a long time.
Yeah.
Early 2nd round picks, in my opinion, are the perfect place to gamble on traits. And when it comes to Villeneuve and his puck ability, his offensive prowess, his just the shiftiness that he displays walking the blue line, dancing guys out of their shoes. Yes, he's a little small, but Lane Hudson has kind of helped put some of those concerns to bed. Nick Blankenship, Blankenberg, pardon me, who's currently a free agent right now, was a Nashville defenseman, also a little bit on the smaller side. These guys are showing they can kind of find a niche and make a name for themselves in the NHL. So as long as he's developed correctly, I think going to BU is a great step in that direction. I think BU had a weird stink last year and had an off year for the program, but overall, that's still one of the premier college programs in college hockey, and in my opinion, always will be until they prove otherwise. And then I think with Rubrick, it's the same thing. Now he's moved to Guelph. He's going to a team where they're going to be in the Memorial Cup, whether he likes it or not. He's going to be playing on a lot bigger stages. And I think there's something to be said when, in his case, you were an elite top talent, and then all of a sudden you fell. Now you have something to prove. Maybe that's what the Blackhawks wanted. Maybe they want that guy with the chip on the shoulder. he can go out and show that he's ready, and they'll be in his corner and they'll support him in his development. I think those were two really well calculated picks. And then I think the rest of their picks were fine.
Yeah,
Get two high quality defensemen. I think Alulari, Mark Eaton said about it, where every time he turned on the tape for the U20 for Finland, he was on the top pair, reliable, maybe not sexy, but gets the job done. And then
he's going to be. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but just really quick, we talk about trading Louis Crevier. Imagine Louis Crevier, but that much shorter. Which, I mean, for Crevier, I mean, we're going from 6'8" behemoth to 6'3", very stocky, solid player. But like you said, U20 top pair, one of the best players for the Finnish team. And then I want to touch on Ivanov and Sorbrun.
Please do. Because you did a brilliant job writing them up and really diving into the details of these guys.
Sorbrun hits people. I mean, that's all he does. I think he had like 15 points in the National.
It sounds like someone I'm gonna like. All he does is hit.
Oh my! He wants to hurt people. He's like
they've done that a couple of times in these last few drafts where they've
Parker Holmes, AJ Spells. He fits a trend. But the guy I want to touch on, who I think could surprise a lot of people, is Ivanov, because he's a 18-year-old kid, and he was getting games in the KHL. Not just that, he was playing like a middle pairing role for KHL teams. In the VHL, as a 17 to 18-year-old kid, he was a top pairing guy, right? And what's equivalent, in case people don't know, the VHL is like the AHL, the American Hockey League's equivalent to the KHL, which is the Continental Hockey League.
Well said.
So, like the one tier below it, still part of professional contracts, two-way contracts, prospects play there. But Ivanov, there's nothing flashy about his game, but like when you're picking that deep, he was a third to fifth round prospect early in the season, I think around November. And a lot of Russian journalists, this is how I find a lot of this stuff, have him as one of the better prospects to come out of Russia for defense for the draft this year, which isn't a ton nowadays, but it's still saying something, right?
Definitely.
Get him. I think we came out with a very solid draft, and it makes the Byram trade look better, in my opinion. Because if we take Reed, we don't take Villeneuve, and I think Villeneuve was a top 15 prospect. So that's just me. That's my draft analysis. Love to hear from you guys.
First off, Cowboy, incredible. And you truly crushed it. If you guys haven't read the articles yet, head over to ontapsportsnet.com. Go ahead and filter through the Blackhawks section. You'll find all the prospects written up. Cowboy, you truly did a brilliant job covering the draft, and we so much appreciate it here. Tony, I want to give you a chance to first off talk about the draft, and then we'll spin it quickly back because I do want to hear from you about Bowen Byram before we talk a little bit about NHL free agency, some New Jersey numbers, and a Drew Comesso contract, which Tony, it's right in your wheelhouse as the goalie guy. Those will be some of the things that we touch on before we get to our habitual segments to close out the show. So before I get there, Tony, the floor is yours. Draft class, Bowen Byram thoughts. Let them spill.
Yeah, it was kind of a hectic week, but again, thank you, Blackhawk Cowboy down there for holding it down. I don't want to ruin my stick taps, but foreshadowing them. The Bowen Byram deal. It feels like I've already been on here and talked about it because I think, Ron, you and I have talked about this on the phone.
We've spent about 3.5 hours and over the last 2 weeks talking about it. Yes.
So it feels, I'm like, wow, is this really the first time I'm talking about the Bowen Byram deal?
The first one?
Yeah, it is. Wow. I was fine with it. I said that they needed to trade the pick just because of the fact that it was 4. So I kind of expected there to be a move made there for someone. What I didn't expect is that it was going to be for Bowen Byram. I thought that would have probably went in addressing the forward position that we've so aptly mentioned multiple times already on this show that we need forward help. Now, I think initially the worry was an extension going to get done? And that was answered pretty quickly. The fact that it took as long as it did for the returns to come out was very odd. And then you hear that it's Big Lou, and this is where I'm kind of sad because I feel like Big Lou, like even that term,
That was kind of your guy.
He was kind of my guy. Like he was my guy. And every team I've got like the one guy who might not be a superstar, might not be, this like the stud. And
shout out Gavin Sheets.
Shout out Gavin Sheets. Yes, Big Lou was kind of a Gavin Sheets type player for me. Big Lou was like potential jersey material. Just to have a Big Lou jersey. Like there was probably going to be a Big Lou jersey purchase at some point next season had he remained here. And so it was kind of just a gut punch. Go ahead, Cowboy.
I was just going to say that was going to be my black jersey purchase. The alternate, Big Lou alternate. That's what I was going to go with. And man, it sucks.
There's a lot of Big Lou love on the Four Feathers podcast.
It sucks. It definitely sucks that Big Lou's gone just because. And if you're a newer listener to this show, we were talking Big Lou for a long time. Was really happy with his game this year. And as I told you, Ron, I think, in a perfect world, you don't have to part with Big Lou in that deal to get it done. But, tinfoil hat on, did they need to get Big Lou out of here because of the number on his back so that someone else could wear that number? That could be one of those possibilities.
Then it didn't happen, and we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, interesting. So then you move on to the other conspiracy theories as to why Big Lou was part of this. And I saw something out there that I believe was it San Jose was also going after Bowen Byram as well. And you need to add a sweetener in there.
Yep.
I think from KD's perspective, you're sort of selling high on a guy. And Cowboy, you brought this up when you were talking about this. You find out that Crevier is older than Byram. They're, I don't know if you're ever going to see what you got out of Louis Crevier next year, what you saw last season. We don't know. That could have been a career year for him. Now, I would think he's going to continue to improve, but is he going to be Bowen Byram? I don't think so. You can't teach size, and Crevier had a lot of it. I enjoyed the silky mitts and the ridiculously hard slap shot, as Ron knows, one of the sayings from Four Feathers all the way dating back is we love guys who just fucking crank it.
Just fucking crank it.
So it sucks that he's gone. But other than that, I think the reaction of that trade to me, just from everyone around being like, oh my God, they got fleeced right away. I don't know if I really fell in that camp. I don't know if I really believed that it was going to be all bad. Didn't really like it at the time just because it wasn't an offensive piece. I think that's where a lot of people are hung up on that because it's sort of reminiscent of, and this is going to be a bad, we hate this name around here, Seth Jones, but Ron, you were the original support Seth Jones guy and why this, we need to get behind that and all, it's reminiscent of that because it's a defenseman, because you're locking up real dollars that look expensive now. We've kind of seen this game before because they were supposed to compete, and here's your long-term defenseman. So I think it's still too fresh off the Seth Jones thing to really have that be an easy sell for Blackhawks fans who want forward help and want goals scored.
Can I I'm going to poke arguments in this, and Cowboy, jump in as you see fit. I think this is I think it's apples and oranges.
Yeah.
I'm saying people are drawing comparisons to it. I'm not saying I'm not.
Agreed. Yeah. I think people are irrationally drawing comparisons. I think the idea of the player is the same, But I think the point in their careers and the situation they're being brought into is incredibly different. And I
it's-
think that's why it doesn't necessarily fit 1-to-1. And I think that's something that a lot of those fans need to kind of take a step back and think about a little bit, because it's like Seth Jones was brought in his late 20s, supposed to be the franchise guy, keep the Taves and Kane era alive, and then it all fell apart. And then he was stuck in a rebuild that he didn't sign up for. Whereas Bowen Byram is joining this team at a point where, first off, I think he thought in 2019 he was going to be a Chicago Blackhawk. I think a lot of people did, if we're going to be brutally honest. And he's now accumulated over 300 games.
Was that the guy that you wanted in that draft, Ron?
No, I am on record as saying I thought they were going to take Kirby Dach, and I was correct. I also thought he got his development tainted by Stan Bowman, because, and I'll be honest with you, I think if Bowen Byram would have been a Blackhawk, I think his development would have been tainted by Stan Bowman too.
Byram would have been a worse pick than Boquist, which is crazy to say. But we'll get to that when you finish. We'll get to that
in due time. We'll get there. But like,
we still got a lot of ground to cover here.
Oh yes, we do. But I genuinely do believe that like Bowen Byram is joining this team at a point where he's gotten to develop with two different organizations that were on the up. He's won a Stanley Cup in Colorado. He was with a Buffalo team that finally turned the corner for sake of that city and that fan base and everything. Like, they are finally a team that actually is worth a shit and are going to be competitive for a lot of years and have made a lot of really good, shrewd moves to improve that team. They finally needed to go out and get that guy. And I really don't think, because a lot of people are like, well, he's making $12.5 million. Well, not until next year, when the cap's $113 million. And Cowboy and I were doing the math on this when we were talking about it during our show. This year's only making $625. If he puts up 60 points next year, he's also only 25. Like, it's a contract that can certainly grow and continue to mature. Cowboy, before we actually, let's get to your point here, because you said you got a little sidebar here before Tony, because we got to get your quick thoughts about the draft before we keep this thing moving.
Echo chamber, could be an echo chamber, completely different situation. Okay. I mean, Bowman, first of all, he screws up Boquist, right? And now he's got to move on to Boquist, because he wanted Boquist and Dach to literally rejuvenate the team.
Screwed up Yoki Haru too.
I mean, all of them. And Yoki Haru was able to salvage something. Boquist, we haven't really seen a lot out of since then. And Dach has been solid but very injury prone, which again I attribute to Bowman rushing the hell out of him.
In a lost 2020 COVID season.
It's not just that too. We talk about the situations. Jones was a last ditch, because Byram, like you said, knows what he's signing up for. He's signing up to be a number one guy on a hopeful team that's coming out of a rebuild. Jones was promised the playoffs. Jones was told, we have Fleury. Was Leonard there, or did Leonard already leave? I know Fleury was there.
I think Leonard was gone already.
Leonard was okay. Anyway, we have Fleury. We have Forsberg, still a very good goaltender. I mean, he's starting, or he's like a fringe starter nowadays.
Nowadays he is, yeah.
Right? And so we have Kane, we have Taves. Keith was still there. And they're like, yeah, we're going to go to the playoffs. You're the missing piece. If I'm Jones, I'm like, yeah, it's the Blackhawks, right? They've been good forever. They beat me in 2015 when I was like a rookie. Let's do it. Gets there. Surprise, surprise, they suck. Because it was all Bowman, smoke and mirrors, and guys past their prime. And it's completely different situations. And I'm looking at the trade right now. I mean, it feels like a completely different trade, because Boquist was a lot better than Crevier. Let's admit it. Even at the time, potential-wise, people still thought Boquist could still be that number one guy. Maybe not to quite the effect, but they still thought he had the potential to do that. Mm-hmm. You throw in the first-round pick, was kind of a throwaway at the time, became a very high pick, and was part of the reason why KD had to start this rebuild that we are still embarking on, was because we lost that pick that was 12th overall. Yep. And then we had to go into that draft as I think the 28th in the league, I believe.
Something like that.
Like low 20s, with no future. People like to point to Hagel and DeBrincat getting traded. Hagel and DeBrincat are never becoming the players they became if they stay here. Maybe to Brinkat, Hagel would have never been above a 70-point guy if he had stayed. It was just that bad, and people forget how bad it was. So just to end my sidebar, completely different situations in my opinion. The Jones trade was 20 billion times worse than what the Byram trade projects to be at its worst. That's just
Well put. Well put. A quick shout out to our good boy Danny Schwartz joining us here in the comments.
He's got a
Tony.
birthday coming up too. Danny
Does he?
Schwartz.
Happy birthday, Schwartzy boy. Tony, just quickly, because we do still have to talk about free agency. We're deep into the show. We still have a lot to get to. Your quick thought.
I do want to actually talk about this, Jason. This will be later on.
Oh, okay. Draft. Anything to add to what Cowboy or Ryan said tonight?
Not really. I liked some of these picks. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce names today. I will save it for another time. As we've continued to pick, in the top 4 of the draft for what feels like forever. I don't know if I'm getting draft fatigue a little bit. Might have a little bit of draft fatigue, Ron. It's always just, the lottery, the build up to it. It feels like it's kind of like the big event of the summer. Ugh. I like the fact that we took some chances here. I think everything that the Cowboy really and Ryan as well hinted out here, especially about Rubric. I liked that pick probably the most out of any of them. Just taking some chances here in the second round, and that's really all I've got. I think you were way more knowledgeable on what was going on in that than I was at the time, Cowboy. So again, appreciation for you and all of your work here at Four Feathers for helping us cover the draft this year, man. That was essential.
Yeah, absolutely. Big shouts out to Blackhawks, Cowboy. All right, let's talk NHL free agency. We've talked a little bit about the Byram stuff, the extension, etc. Let's talk about NHL free agency. Everybody was hoping the Blackhawks were going to make big moves. They made moves, but maybe not big moves. Cole Smith signs for 3 years at $3 million AAV. Ian Cole signs for 1 year at a $4 million contract. It could be worth up to just shy of $5 million if there's incentives involved. And then they added depth. Dylan Anhorn, Connor Milmuck, and Dylan Boucher are all additions. The latter two are forwards that played with the Ice Hogs last season, so they're now under contract with the actual organization, not just AHL contracts. Anhorn comes over from the Winnipeg Jets organization, add a little bit of defensive depth, a little bit more of a veteran. Otherwise, the Blackhawks kind of stood pat from like the early part of free agency. I personally kind of like the Cole Smith addition. I think he brings a guy that kind of gives you that kind of, pardon my French, but fuck you mentality as a forward, can play a little bit of center and wing. Good penalty killer. He's going to, come in hard. He's going to finish checks. He's going to do a lot of things that the Blackhawks don't do.
Is he going to be able to replace Ilya Mikheyev on the penalty kill?
Maybe.
It's all
on the penalty kill. Maybe on the offensive side, probably not. But that's where they're expecting other players to fill in. And honestly, Mikheyev wanted the term. I don't know if anybody saw that, but he took a $4.3 million contract to go to Tampa, but he wanted the term and he got that 4th year in Tampa. That was a big key for him. I think he just wanted the term. And in fairness,
it's going to be a big hole. It's going to be a big hole.
It could be, but that's what the Blackhawks did. I'll turn it over to you guys because I'll say it right now. I like the Cole Smith edition. I think the Ian Cole edition is fine as a depth move for 1 year. But I think they largely kind of did nothing, which is what a lot of people unfortunately expected. And we'll roll into the season and kind of see what happens, unless they make another move, obviously, with the latest news that we talked about earlier. But I digress. This is your floor, gentlemen. I'll let you guys vent.
I'm not going to hype this up like it's going to be some big signings because they're not. They're depth pieces, right? And I think it's important to realize that. And I think what you're doing with Smith is you're sort of, if you watch Moneyball, you're replacing Mikheyev in the aggregate and counting on Oliver Moore to kind of pick up the offensive slack that Mikheyev put down to say
We
when he
can't
left.
replace Giambi, Cowboy, but we can replace him in the aggregate.
Exactly. I just watched Moneyball, so that was I had to throw a little reference in there.
I
like
love
that.
first off, I love that reference because Moneyball is
Yeah.
one of my favorite movies
It's a
ever.
great movie. Great movie. It was like my first time watching it in like 8 years. It was like historically inaccurate, but a great movie nonetheless. And
fantastic.
that's all that really matters. Like I said, you're kind of replacing them, like I said, quote unquote, in the aggregate. You're hoping more and Lardis kind of ramp up production. They're probably going to be playing mid-6, if not bottom 6, specifically with more. Kind of where McCabe was at. And Smith, like you said, that mentality. He's a mean man. He was brung into Vegas to just kill people. He had a great series against Colorado, in my opinion. He had that goal. Everyone watched it, where it was 1-0, game 4 in Vegas. You're about to sweep the President's Trophy winners. Puck's in the corner. He scoops it out, gets it to the point, follows the net on the shot where he created, and then gets the tip in, right? And that puts Colorado to bed. So he's a guy, playoff guy. And I wrote right up. I don't want to keep plugging my own stuff, but
Nope, keep
a
plugging.
lot of the quotes, he wants to win, right? He came from a Predators team that was projected to win, and then they kind of didn't, kind of pull the 2021 Blackhawks. And then went to Vegas through a trade and was part of a team that went to the Stanley Cup final. He came in, he's like, the reason why I signed here is because Kyle Davidson said, we're ready to go. That has to mean something coming from a guy who just made the cup final. Yeah. Ian Cole, it's another TJ Brody, Alec Martinez, end of the career, prove it. You still got it, Stanley Cup champion. He's a decent player. He did decent with Mammoth, with the Mammoths, but nothing too special there. And then, we talked about Mackey and Boucher, and those are just going to be AHL guys, probably 2-way contracts.
Yeah.
It left a lot to be desired, to end out my point. It's kind of disappointing when you look at your phone and fire KD, trade Bedard, get Patrick Kane, get Patrick Laine. Wow. Man, wouldn't that be the life?
Lots of fun.
Imagine the package. But I'm getting sidetracked. Anyway, when you look at your phone to start the morning and Bork gets sent out and Robertson goes to arbitration, and you never really had a chance with these guys, still hurts. The Bork one hurt a lot. I really thought Bork would be a Blackhawk, but
yeah,
it's just where we're at. KD is kind of hesitant. The Byron move was a big move to make. Now you got to look for Mantha, and especially I think a big move has to be coming within the next couple of months. Well, there's Kent Johnson for Korch. I've been mocking that for a year and a half now, especially with Bonus coming into Columbus. Don't want to get sidetracked, but Bonus going to Columbus with how he was treating Kent Johnson to end the year, that's a trade willing to happen, in my opinion. Yeah. Kent Johnson getting out, Korchinski, he's not going to be the same player here in Chicago. 1-for-1, get it done. Maybe it works out. Maybe it doesn't. But
yeah,
Tony, I'll turn it over to you. What you got for me?
From a free agency standpoint, I think Cowboy, you summed it up real well. None of this is great. There's reasons to like either of those guys, but these are more just role player signings. And like I said, I feel like from the free agency standpoint, it hasn't really been a way that the Hawks have been or seemingly are going to be able to address some of their needs. The cap space is there, but I think a lot of those savings are going to go towards guys that they've already locked up or in like a sign and trade like we did with Byram. Unfortunately, the free agency market isn't fruitful with players like Marian Hosses that drop out and can become the piece that you need, and it's just not that game anymore. And it stinks because I feel like it takes away from Ron's holiday and it wears off some of the shine that it once had, a few years ago. So I'm sorry for you, GM Ron, but
that's okay.
I just feel like, it's been very obvious that you're going to need to make some trades here to fix this thing. Like I said about, the Patrick Kane discussion that we had just a little bit ago, I don't even think that like something like that or what's available on the free agent market right now is really going to solve the issue. We're sort of picking through things here for what we can get. I don't know. If I had to grade it, I know we're doing player grades, but it's just kind of like a C minus, right? I don't know if you guys would grade it differently, but I still feel like, losing Mikheyev from a forward standpoint hurts. I don't think that they've totally filled it. Loved the Moneyball reference though.
Spectacular.
My biggest wonder is when Kyle Davidson got up to the podium after, I think it was just after the Smith and Cole signings, and it was like very early in the afternoon, and you just kind of knew what you were going to get. All right, we're done for the day. We're always interested in making our club better. What GM isn't? Thanks, man. What GM isn't interested in making their club? It's not stuff that fans want to hear.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's just sort of where we're at this point. Is the answers are going to be hard to find. It's like putting a puzzle together, and you don't have all of the pieces to start with. You got to go acquire them.
I mean, 100%. I've heard Mantha to the Hawks a lot on Twitter, on X, whatever you want to call it. Cool. I mean, I think he had almost 70 points.
Yeah, 64
points. But I'm saying you got Mantha, Kane. I mean, I'm just going to look really quick, Wikipedia, and then Johansson and Tarasenko, who put up under 50 points each on a loaded Minnesota Wild team, for lack of a better word. You like Tony said, I just want to chime in. You have to look for trade. Every great team was built off the trade. The Washington Capitals with TJ Oshie, that trade, even though it took a year to come to fruition, you have to find a guy. It's impossible to build a perfect roster only from prospects, no matter how good you draft. Even a team like San Jose is going to have to look to trade, right?
Here's what's interesting about Mantha, though. There's been a couple of very interesting seasons with some injuries as well as all that. But I believe that last year was his career high.
Yeah. So he could be on the up and up. I also think he played a decent amount of closer to top 6, top 9 for sure, with Pittsburgh. And when you have Crosby, Malkin, and Carlson on the ice with you pretty much for 90% of your shifts, everyone's going to
that helps. I don't think he's the same player here. Although, being healthy is the most important thing. He did appear in 81 games last year, and it looks like the last time he got really close to that was 80 in 2017-18.
Yeah.
What do we have here? 67 games in 22-23. What do you think he's going to command, though?
I guess that's the question. I guess that's why maybe a lot of teams haven't been actively pursuing him. He's probably going to want this going to be one of his last paydays, whether he likes it or not. He's probably looking for term the same way Mikheyev did. And unlike Mikheyev, he is Mikheyev was injury prone, but Mantha makes Mikheyev look like flipping Chris Chelios with the injury reports. And Mantha, he's someone I didn't really pay attention to, someone I didn't really look at prior to Bedard getting injured. That changes the Mantha conversation because now you have two very big layering holes in the top 6, specifically on the wing. Because Bedard, another thing people haven't really talked about, Bedard's probably going to start on the wing when he comes back.
Well, you have to wonder if that's going to impact the ability for him to take faceoffs, like the other shoulder injury did. I know that Kyle had already or I don't know if it was Kyle, but somebody had asked, I think in that press conference after free agency opened, they had talked about how they're going to set the lines, and they talked about Bedard, Nazar, and Frondell all centering their own lines. Which I'm curious, Cowboy. How do you feel about that?
I hate it. I honestly,
you hate that.
That statement was when I first started to be like, "What is this guy talking about?" Because yes, the Frondell Bedard line. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They sucked analytically. They were one of the worst lines in the NHL when they were together. However, you can't just play Bedard with random people every night and expect him to do well. You can't play him with Andre Burakovsky and Ryan Green. I mean, I've seen people.
But Ryan Green is a year older. I've seen that tossed around.
Oh my god, so a year older. I actually crashed. That's a little hint for my sick tap. Crashed on me. Axe was the guy who started that because that's what Kyle Davidson keeps saying. Oliver Moore's a year older. Nick Lars's a year older. Ryan Green's a year older. Yeah, they're a year older. So what? Honestly, I didn't think Ryan Green was going to be an NHLer. He's proved me wrong. Top line though with Burakovsky. And then you're going to have Frondell on his own line. That's a lot of pressure. He's probably going to be ahead of Nazar when push comes to shove. I don't think Frondell projects as a long-term center. That could be crazy to say. I could be in the minority. But I think Frondell doesn't have the playmaking to facilitate his own line. And I don't know if he's ever going to have the vision, the ceiling for his vision to do that. Right. I'm not hating on the kid. Kid's incredible. He's amazing, right? But even in his draft year, I never really thought. I think he was safer than Martone. He has a much better defensive game than Martone, but Martone could play make, and Frondell just doesn't. He's a finisher. That's what he is.
Yeah.
I know his stats don't reflect that, but small sample size. That's
very small sample size.
I'm very passionate about not, even if you don't play him with Bedard, who's Nazar going to play with? Teravainen again? So, something has to give there. And I think
here's the other thing about this offense. Do you expect Tyler Bertuzzi to put up as many points as he did last season and have another career year? What version of Ryan Donato are you going to get? Because last year was not what you got in his contract year. In terms of production.
I was going to say it depends if Bertuzzi's going to play with Bedard again. If he's going to get power play time again, he probably will this year. But in the future, that could be a different discussion. And it's just, Donato, we all expected a regression, right? You would be crazy not to. You play with Bedard, you get moved off Bedard's wing. But to not even match your goal total from the year before, I'm pretty sure he had 30 points and he had 31 goals the year before. When you lock him up long term like that, 4x4, it's not great.
I will quickly step in and defend Ryan Donato because
he also played. You took your break. I'm going to take mine.
Perfect. Because he was bottom 6 for a lot of the year. I think it's a little harder to say that, but he still put up 15 and 15. Like if you look at the year before when he's getting more minutes, he put up 31 and 31, and that's what he got the 60. So, like, if you're talking about like complete player, like what he does, like I think Brian Donato is fully worth the $4 million and what he does and kind of the voids he fills. But I agree with you guys in the sense of, and I like what you said, Cowboy, especially about Frondell. And this is why I think what a couple of people have said about Nazar getting the look as the 1C makes sense. Because I think you want playmakers as his wings. Yeah. Like, you want him to be the shooter. I think ultimately, if we're going to be brutally honest, if we're going to steer this thing quickly back to Connor Bedard before we get to jersey numbers and all that fun stuff, Connor Bedard's kind of also a finisher. Like, yes, he's a playmaker, but he's also a finisher. Yes. Like, he scored 71 goals in the WHL in his draft year. Like, that doesn't just happen because he's, like, lucky, right? Mm. I think Connor Bedard would benefit from, dare I say, a Patrick Kane type winger that is a pass first, a setup guy. Like, you want those kind of guys in this lineup because if you look at their top 3 centers, all those guys can score goals. And yes, they're playmakers. Like, yes, they're not just one-dimensional creatures, but like man, when you let that shot flourish, they all have a good shot.
And what really stings about this exact conversation we're having right now, that we've been having the past 2 years, and I think you know where I'm going with this. We had the perfect winger for Connor Bedard, second overall in the 2024 draft.
I know.
His name is not Artem Levshinov.
It's Ivan Demidov.
Man, it just sucks. It just sucks when you realize the problem we have now.
Yeah. I come back and I hear the first thing is Demidov, and I know exactly where this conversation is.
This is Tony's Trojan horse.
It just the fact that we're still trying to figure out this problem in the lineup 3 years after going on 3 years after the fact is horrible when you had the literal perfect player, the prototype. Like, if I could create a player to play with Connor Bedard in EA NHL, be a pro, it would be Ivan Demidov. Yeah. And now you're trying to replace Levshinov with guys like Byram because he's not going to be a power play quarterback. He hopefully gets the top line, but he was analytically the worst defenseman in the NHL, or at least bottom three. It just sucks. It sucks. And I get defensemen take longer, and I get the arguments.
It's hard. Yeah.
But I said this the day of the draft, and I'll never forget this. I said, Levshinov couldn't turn out great, but it's always would he have been better than what Demidov would have brought to this team? Right. And I've never thought that he would be. And that's what hurts.
I think you and I talked a little bit about this, Cowboy, when we talked about Byram was, did the Korchinski trajectory change that pick, right? Yeah. Because, if Korchinski, again, not to say Korchinski was in such a weird position because he dominated the WHL. Mm-hmm. There was no point for him to go back. But because of the rules, he couldn't go to the AHL.
The NCAA rules, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that NCAA rule, I guarantee you they're like, what about guys like Korchinski when they were arguing for it?
Yes. I bet you Kevin Korchinski would have been the perfect guy to go to Michigan State, Michigan, Penn State, BU, BC, somewhere like that, play 1 year there as the dude. I think the Blackhawks would have been fine. And maybe Korchinski comes out on the other side of that after 2 years in college and they go, okay, we got our guy. And then maybe that Levshinov pick turns into Demidov. And again, this is all hindsight being 2020, but I think it's a fascinating set of what ifs that set up the current state of the roster when it's all said and done.
It's a frustrating set of what ifs.
Oh, I know.
Fascinating, but frustrating as well. I think we're all rotating breaks here because we're already at the hour and 40 mark in this show. This has been a really good.
Hey, a quick.
I couldn't do the jersey anymore. I had to take it off. It was
a quick shout out to the comment section who have been living it up. We've got 12 to 17 people on YouTube watching along with us all night. A lot of other people checking in on X. So again, kudos and thank you for everybody that's joining us. This show's been long overdue. So we're airing out all the grievances on the air here tonight.
Yes, we are.
Where were Demidov. Let's move on. What do you got first, Ron?
Well, we got some New Jersey numbers. We can get into that.
We got to check about New Jersey numbers.
Let's talk about some New Jersey numbers. First off, though, I want to pivot just very quickly because Cowboy was too bashful. Go check out his article. Cole Smith comes to Chicago with expectations. It's a great piece. It talks about all of his quotes from his press conference, just talking about what like Kyle Davidson and company said in the front office, why he wanted to sign with Chicago. Again, he signed for term. 3 years is no joke, especially as a depth player and kind of what he's going to fill. So be sure to check that out over to ontapsportsnet.com. And again, another great piece by Blackhawks Cowboy. And of course, we got to get to New Jersey numbers because New Jersey numbers are fun, man. This is what I live for every year. Man, I want to know who I'm going to go waste money on a jersey for when it comes to, when it's all said and done. So, of the new faces on the Blackhawks that got New Jersey numbers, Jordan Greenway has a new number. His number is 12, and we'll get to why that's 12 here in just a hot second. Cole Smith is going to wear 22. Bowen Byram, as we kind of already knew, is going to wear 24. Ian Cole's going to wear 28. Roman Kanserov is going to wear 80. That's a fun number. And then Sasha Boisvert is going to wear 90, which is also an incredibly fun number. Gentlemen, I first off love.
What was Sasha wearing when he came up last
12.
year?
He wore 12. So Jordan Greenway gets his old number. Greenway in his career has worn 18 and 12, which obviously he can't wear 18 because Dennis Savard has that retired here in Chicago. And he was like, hey, young buck, I want 12. That's what I'm guessing is what happened. And Sasha was like, yeah, sure, whatever, take it. It's fine. No, we care, Mr. Call Guy. He says no one cares. We care. We absolutely care. Here in this all said and done, he gets put in banned in timeout. New numbers, gentlemen. Thoughts, opinions. I see a lot of new jersey opportunities for around.
I do not like Kanserov in 80.
But see, I love that, and here's why. So you know what? Hold on. I'm gonna reserve my thoughts. You go ahead, Cowboy, because I'm saving those for another segment.
He could have thrown any number behind the 8, and it would have looked great. Can't throw 81, obviously. The great Marian Hossa. 82, shout out Thomas Kopecky.
Shout out.
Right? 83, 84, 86, 85. I feel like those are all better numbers than 80. 80 just looks awkward on a jersey. Same thing with 90. I have a problem with those like high numbers without the back. 70, 80, 90. Even like
I don't know. I kind of like the 80 number. I like the 80 number. I don't know why.
I do too.
I just like it.
That could just be me talking. I just feel like he had a lot more potential. I think 72 would have looked great on him.
No.
72 as a high-skilled Russian winger is a great number.
Yeah, but Panarin wore it.
Yeah, Panarin wore it.
Well, maybe he's better than Panarin. And he's the next Panarin. And that's what I was thinking was 72. That's where my mindset was at. Was, we're not going to screw up this time and trade Kanserov after a Calder Trophy season and an MVP track. Man, Bowman.
Could you have gone with the, let's see, 77?
I love 77. 77 is an all-time number. Love 77.
Hate it. Hate it. I'll tell you what. I have to save my thoughts because we have to get to another section before I get to talk about. I'll say this. I kind of enjoyed Bowen Byram wearing 24. It adds to the lore of 24 in Chicago Blackhawks history because Bob Probert wore the number. Doug Wilson wore the number, which, again, as a defenseman, I think Doug Wilson is like kind of the peak of like, hey, look at this guy. And then I always think of Martin Havlat when I see 24 because that was my upbringing as a Blackhawks fan. But I think it's a fun number. And you know what? A quick an honorary stick tap to Bowen Byram because they were like, hey, you want to wear 4? And he was like, no, Nicholas Strom
was the hammer. That's when I changed my mind on the Bowen Byram trade.
I genuinely
cool.
believe that based on the only reason that Seth Jones got number 4 was because he signed a long-term deal.
Yeah.
I think that the number 4 has been so sacred since Jalmerson left that they just have to retire it. Maybe it's a hot take, but I just think at this point you have to do it.
It's kind of going to be like one of those unofficial retired ones, I feel like.
But they throw out 28 because Ian Cole got 28 again. Burakovsky just had it.
It's very clear that this organization does not care about Larmer.
Which is tragic.
It's horrible. But they're going to care a lot more about Jarmison than Larmer for some reason. I don't understand.
Because he won 3 cups here.
Cups count. Cups do count. Yeah. Let's not lose sight of that.
In NHL history, not NHL history, in Blackhawks history. And I would say he's one of the top 5 greatest Blackhawks. I'll put him up there. I have him ahead of Roenick, honestly. That's just me.
Larmer?
Yeah. Larmer ahead of Roenick. All-time legacy. I love Steve Larmer, though. I love Steve Larmer. Him, Chelios, man.
Some good
I didn't get to see that 92 team. But, man, if it wasn't for Jaromir Jagr, that's a really cool team.
Yeah, it's a
My
really
dad-
good team, man.
My dad vividly remembers that series, and he talks about Yager like he's the boogeyman. I mean, he's like this guy came in.
He is.
He
He is the boogeyman, and that's the craziest part about that series. It wasn't even Lemieux; it was
It was
Yager.
Yager. Lemieux was a background character to Yager being insane.
Yeah,
Which is because Lemieux had his year the year before against the North Stars, which that's a different can of worms of my dad going to that game where everyone threw the crap on the ice because they got swept as the number 1 seed. Wish we did that against Nashville, but whatever. Not swept. I think they lost in maybe not swept. Oh, I wasn't around. But we're getting way too far sidetracked. Jersey numbers.
jersey numbers.
Jersey numbers.
Jersey numbers. Bowen Byram, we're in 24. I'll tell you what. We'll get to the cancer off thing. In my humble opinion, I think the Boisvert thing is fun. He's the 4th player to wear 90 for the Blackhawks. The more fun fact of that, the first player to wear 90 for the Blackhawks was Scott Foster.
That late.
He was the first 90, and then it was Tyler Johnson, Joe Veleno, and then now Sasha Boisvert. So only 4 guys. And then fun fact, Canceroff, only the second guy to wear 80, but I'll talk about that a little bit more here in just a hot minute. Let's talk about a goalie here really quick before we get to our habitual segments. Drew Commesso signed a contract, 2 years. One of those is a 2-way deal. His second year, though, it's a 1-way contract, which I think we can all explicitly say that means he's the backup goaltender in Chicago, if not this year, for sure next season, not this coming season, but the following season, because Arvid Soderblom's contract is over after this year. Tony, you're the goalie guy. I'm going to give it to you first. Thoughts on Drew Commesso on a 2-year deal to stay in Chicago?
Love it. I think that, getting some term on here, I believe he becomes an RFA after the conclusion of this. You don't have to go in, and for me, I love this for one reason. It sets the tone for what's going to happen in this goalie room here on the step chart.
Hashtag set the tone.
You know that Drew Commesso is going to be in Chicago, not this season for sure, but next season. And, obviously Arvid Soderblom, I believe, has 1 year left on his deal. Spencer Knight has a 3-year extension that he signed, and that kicks in this upcoming season. So you've got him here through, I believe, 29-30, if I'm mathing correctly.
Yes.
You will then have some decisions to make. Once Drew Commesso is in this RFA phase, how long do you lock him up for? Do you potentially get to start seeing like how long-term is Spencer Knight? I know they're putting the cart ahead of the horse here, but I think there was reasons why Spencer Knight wasn't exactly extended on the term that he was. I love Knight. I've got the Black Knight jersey. Ron, you have that as well.
I also have the same jersey. I have a thought on this, by the way, but continue your thought.
No, Commesso was always the long-term plan since he got here. And I think that they're going to start to enter that phase to ramp him up. Now, Spencer Knight, I think, is the number 1 goalie in Chicago until, performance proves otherwise. But I think we're finally going to get out of this Arvid Soderblom experience, at least at some point in the next calendar year. We will not be sitting here with him on our roster. Now, I have sort of this love-hate relationship with Arvid Soderblom, and I think you guys do as well. I love to hate when he is in goal, especially when I show up to the United Center. But then there's other games where it's like, all right, I actually appreciate what you're doing here. You are a serviceable backup. He's kind of a tale of 2 goaltenders, Mr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Depends what kind of version of Arvid Soderblom you get that night. But I think he's just an easy punching bag for Hawks fans at this point. So as the rebuild continues to move on, I think this sort of, again, it goes back to sets the tone for what's starting to transpire here. I think, we're moving on from these rebuild goaltenders into having an actual real 1-2 punch. And not that Arvid Soderblom was bad. There were stretches where he was bad. He just wasn't great.
Yeah.
I think, there is a potential where if you have Arvid Soderblom throughout this season and the Hawks are not in a really good standing and, somebody needs a depth goaltender, I wouldn't be surprised if Arvid Soderblom is shopped heavily throughout the league. And you see Drew Commesso sort of take that step this year as the number 2 goaltender in Chicago. And, health is a crazy thing. Let's hope that our goalie room is healthy throughout the season and we don't have to do this. But he proved last year that he can come up. I remember the flu that attacked the Blackhawks locker room when everybody was getting norovirus back in what was that, December. And Commesso comes up and he played real well. It looks like he's ready to take that next step. Yeah. And I love the fact that the Hawks are putting this as a one-way deal next year. I think it's time to do it now. I was hoping that this would get done now, but at least there's some clarity on when they plan to bring him up to the NHL level and see what he can do.
I mean, let's face it, the writing was on the wall for Soderblom. We all know it was. And the problem with Soderblom is that he would make every save you didn't expect him to make and then miss every save you would expect him to make, if that makes sense.
100% makes sense.
Yeah, it was infuriating to watch him play in person. I think that's the future, but he was going to get phased out eventually because you're also forgetting who's going to have to take the mantle in Rockford, and that's going to be Adam Guyon. Who was the first goalie off the board way back when at the start of this rebuild. He had a very good year last year, went to the Olympics, and now we're going to have to play him somewhere, right? You'll only be in college for so long. It's not like college football. Yep. You get phased out eventually. And so he's got to go to Rockford, and it's time that Commesso, he was 2020 draft pick, I believe. We're 5 years in. He's going to be 24, I believe, and goalies take a long time. But it's time that he becomes an NHL player, and I'm excited to see him play because in the 2 games, I'm not counting the Capitals game. I don't think any of us should. It's a brutal circumstance where you get 6 hours notice before you have to go against Alex Ovechkin and Tom Wilson and Dylan Strome and everyone. And so it's time for Commesso to step up, and it's also time for Soderblom to, go out to greener pastures. Hopefully,
I was gonna say go out to greener pastures.
Maybe he gets like a Colin Delia or Anton Forsberg experience, and he becomes a journeyman. Maybe starts a couple games, gets a good, solid starting role for a year or two. But man, the problem with Soderblom was always consistency, and unless he plays out of his mind this year, he's out for sure. I think he's getting phased out, but. Yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Not a whole lot to digest. I think it's pretty straightforward.
I agree wholeheartedly in the sense of I think Commesso, before Knight got here, Commesso was the plan, like as the long-term future.
Yes.
Goal. And now I think the reason Knight only signed a 3-year deal is because he knows that his value is going to be much higher than what he's getting paid right now.
Yeah.
When he does get to that point. But I think if you have these two as your 1 and 1A, and they can play, Knight plays 50 to 55 games a year, and then Commesso cleans up the rest. Like that's a great recipe for success.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the Blackhawks see. And this is a year for Arvid Soderblom to prove what he is. Like it might not be in Chicago. You might not be playing for a contract here, but you're playing for a contract somewhere else. And I think he's done a lot of good things. You guys have mentioned it already. Like he doesn't always make the easy save, but like son of a bitch, if he sees 55 shots, he's stopping 53 of them. Like he has those weird games where he really, the more volume he sees, the better he does. Somebody's going to give him a chance. Somebody's going to try to develop him a little further. I think he's still a fine NHL goalie. Like, let's be honest, because NHL goalies are like bullpen pitchers in baseball. Like, they are volatile. They are all over the place sometimes. When you have a good one that's consistent, you better pay them a shit ton of money because then they don't go anywhere. I think that's what Spencer Knight and Drew Commesso could ultimately be for this Blackhawks team long term. And I think that's incredibly important when you have a young defense in front of them who's a little more offensively specialized. They got to be able to make saves in the big key moments. And I think that's going to be really, 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 really key. And I like this. This is fun from Lebowski. NHL goalies are kind of running backs. Yeah. To an extent, like they can play late into their career though, but it's the inconsistencies of it that I see the parallels nonetheless.
I was almost going to say they're like a reverse running back in the fact that like running backs are out the league by 27, and you have goalies coming
into the league by 27.
Yeah, they're like rookies.
Yeah.
Like I remember, was it Sorokin or Shesterkin? I always
both.
One of them didn't. Well, it was like 25 was their rookie year. It was like
yeah. I think both of them.
I think both of them was 25. And I mean, even Crawford was what, 26? I mean, you got drafted in 03.
Crawford got drafted the same year as Brent Seabrook, for people that don't remember.
That's insane, for one. And then for two, I like Soderblom. I remember seeing like a graphic on Instagram, and Instagram hockey is a different animal, but there was a pretty good graphic. It was talking about like the most saves. Soderblom had like 3 of the top 10 most saves in a game, and they've lost almost every single one of them because he was getting shelled every night. And I think, Knight saw a lot of that too. His stats kind of, as a team, went down, and we're going to need a better defense for either Commesso or Knight or Soderblom, no matter how this shakes out, to fully come to their potential. There we go.
100%. 100%.
Are you drinking bullet bourbon tonight, Ronald?
I am not. I am drinking Chattanooga whiskey.
Chattanooga whiskey. That was a comment in from @BigGun1.
Big Gun 1. I know Big Gun 1. I'm very good friends with Big Gun 1. That's somebody I know very, very well. Gentlemen, we have gotten to the fun stuff of the show. Shall we commence forward? I think we shall.
It's time to ruffle some feathers.
We may be 2 hours into this thing, but it is time to ruffle some feathers. Tony, I'm going to turn it over to you first. This will give Blackhawks Cowboy a moment to think about it. To ruffle feathers. If you have any feathers to ruffle this evening.
I do, actually. And here's the feathers that I want to ruffle. And I want to go back to a comment that we had way back here. There we go. Found it. Jason, Hawks fan. He's been in the stream for a long time in the comments. Shout out, Jason. But this was actually my ruffle some feathers. Please discuss the preferred game time start survey that was just sent out. So for some background knowledge, the Chicago Blackhawks sent out an email survey. I don't know if either of you guys got that survey.
I haven't done it, so definitely not.
Well, if you've attended a Blackhawks game, I guess you were on the mailing list or like purchased or Ticketmaster, what have you.
But I'm a season ticket holder, and I didn't even get that.
You know what? To be honest with you, I didn't check my inbox yet to see if I got it, but there was a survey that was sent out today, and it was about the start times for all the games. And while Ron, you know this. I like a late game.
Yes, you
do. Like a late game.
Start them all at 9 o'clock.
So, as of right now, the 7:30 p.m. start time has sort of been the default start time. But last year, Ron, you and I had tickets as part of our plan when the NHL decides to do these. I forget what they call them, but they run almost every team in the league starts every like 15 minutes or whatever, so they could do the frozen whatever it is, sort of like MLB big inning or red zone coverage in football. Great idea. Horrible for the people who have to attend games because it messes with the normal start time. Anyway, they put out a survey, and one of the first one is what would your preferred start time be for weekday games? And one of the options is earlier than 6:40 p.m.
No.
That is. It's awful.
6:40, 7 o'clock, 7:30, or later than 7:30.
7:30.
I think 7:30 is fine.
7
People
is
get off
perfect.
work at 5, 6 o'clock, want to go to the game, bring their
7:30
kids,
is
whatever.
the perfect weeknight start time.
7:30 is the perfect weeknight start time. If anybody starts voting earlier than 6:40 and they make that a thing, I'm going to have a problem. But I know we've got guys like Pat Comiskey here, new father, and wakes up early for work. I'm sure he'd love an earlier than 6:40 start time, Patrick. Now, here's the other one for you. What's your preferred start time be for Saturday games? 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and there's a huge gap. 6 in the afternoon,
Whoa.
7, 7:30, or later than 7:30.
6. On
Saturday.
a Saturday, give me a 6 o'clock start.
Give me that prime time. Give me the 7. 7 o'clock, I feel like is a perfect time for a Saturday where you can pregame, but you can go out after too. I like 7.
I like where Blackhawks Cowboys heads at right now.
I'm okay with the late Saturday game, even if you got to start that at 8. I thought 8 should have been a choice. Now, here's one that should not be even negotiable.
2.
It's what is your preferred start time for Sunday night?
One of those great 6 o'clock starts.
Why is this a question? Why is this a question that the organization puts it out there? This tells me that there is a chance that there's going to be a bunch of people who vote for 5 p.m. Sunday, and we ruin the history of the great 6 o'clock Sunday start. What are we doing here?
Start is perfect.
It's historic. It's perfect. It's Sunday. One of those great 6 o'clock starts. Everybody loves it. Don't change it. So please, Blackhawks marketing department, if you get votes for all of this 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock nonsense, throw that out. This question should have never been asked or put on a survey at all. 6 o'clock starts on Sundays. That's it. That's my ruffle some feathers round.
Well done. That was good. That was good, Tone. That was almost as good as a wrestling like WWE promo right there for start times. That was
2 hours.
That was good. That was good. Yeah, we're in deep in this thing.
Yeah.
I'll be quick. Don't panic in July. I think the Hawks have a chance to make something happen. I'm going to be optimistic. Don't panic in July. The Bedard news sucks. Don't get it twisted. I'm just as sad as you are. But let's see what happens. There's still time between now and the start of the season for something to happen that makes Blackhawks fans feel a little bit of joy before Bedard gets back at some point in November. That's where I'm going to leave it. Blackhawks Cowboy. How do you want to ruffle some feathers?
I'm going in the opposite direction of you, and I'm going with do not expect this team to make the playoffs this year. You could see improvement. You could see a big move. No matter what happens, keep perspective in mind and do not bet the house on the Blackhawks, even in the wild card. I still think they finish well below that. That could be a hot take, but that's just me.
Tony, I like Cowboy being on here. He's more on my side than he is on your side.
I said do not make the playoffs, by the way. I just want to make that clear.
No.
Yeah,
I've
okay.
told Tony to like keep expectations low, and Tony's
Okay.
like, no. We need to fucking ramp them up. So this is a good contrast. You're just helping Mike.
I don't think we need to keep expectations low forever. I feel like we've gone.
No, not
I
forever.
feel like there's keeping expectations low and there's being realistic. I don't think this roster where it's at.
No, it's very
even with
realistic to
Bedard.
say that this isn't going to go where it needs to go this year.
Yeah.
But you've also you've said the things. That's what drives me up the fucking wall. Is that you've said the things. You've said we want to take a step forward. Then you look at the roster and you go, well, the roster isn't any fucking better. So why are we still doing this thing where how about just be transparent? This is gonna take 4 or 5 years.
Well, he was transparent. Now people want him gone. So you
True.
can't have your cake and eat it too. I'm not speaking for everybody. But
How was he? Where was he?
Tell him,
transparent?
Cowboy.
Where
What?
was he transparent? Where was he
When he
just
first
start?
started the rebuild, he was like, "Yeah, this is going to take forever," and everyone hated him for it. And then I will admit, I'll be the first to say, 3 years ago, should have never said we're going to ramp up. No, we had Tyler
Yeah,
Johnson still on
That's
the
what I'm
roster. Are you
saying. Don't
kidding me?
say that.
Alec
Like,
Martinez
but
is
then
going to.
But then you don't want your players going out to the media and saying, "All right, we expect to make the playoffs this year."
Well,
Like they're gonna be a top 4 draft pick again next season, most likely.
you also can't control what your players are saying. I mean,
No, that's
they're
fair.
human. And Vlasic, he's been there forever. Think about where he was when he first got to this team.
He's
when
like,
he was a
please,
rookie.
for the love of hell, let me see.
He's like,
good
yeah,
hockey."
we have to make the playoffs, or else I might just go into the wilderness and live in a cabin like the Zodiac. But that could just be me.
I think a lot of Hawks fans are gonna wind up in that position.
I
This
think a lot of them already
continues
are.
on.
And I agree with you that they should be transparent, but at the same time, I mean,
I get
GM
that.
jargon for a reason. It's GM
Yeah.
jargon. Every GM says the same
It is.
things. He's not going to come out after 5 years of a rebuild and then go, "Yeah, we're going to suck again. I hope you guys are going to buy, a season ticket pass for whatever, right? Keep buying our tickets, front row. It's like $1,000, and we're just going to be awful." He can't just say that. Not anymore, at least. He used to. He can't say that anymore.
I don't think you ever were able to say that.
Yeah.
But
Tony and I
Cowboy,
know that feeling.
yeah, at some point, like you do have to get better. You do have to take this step forward.
And
it can't
I
just be Ryan Green is another year older. Like that's part of it, but there's a bigger picture there too. At a certain point,
Definitely.
I think that they're going to take the step. It just is not going to appear in the standings as most people think it's going to.
I can't wait for our season predictions show, Ron. I can't
That's
wait.
going to be fun.
It's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good one. A couple quick comments here. Sergeant Baloney 6662 says, "I expect KD getting fired and Jonathan Taves becoming the GM." And then Torius TBG says Bedard not going to sign an extension out with the surgery. He has to. He's an RFA right now. I think a lot of people confuse extension with he's technically a free agent. Like he's gonna sign. It's just a matter of when and for what dollar value and how many years. So be on the lookout. It's coming, whether you like it or not, I guess. I say that with a quotation mark. Here we go. Anyway, gentlemen, let's keep this thing moving, shall we?
Time to give out some stick taps.
Stick taps, gentlemen. Let's give those out. Tony, the floor is yours.
Yeah, my stick tap goes to someone on the show right now, Mr. Blackhawks Cowboy. We said this a couple of times, but he really came in clutch during the draft. Had some family health issues I was dealing with. Ron, you had some family in town as well during the draft, and it was tough for us to get to everything. But Cowboy stepped it up, and you've grown a ton since joining on Tap Sportsnet and Four Feathers specifically. Like, look at you now. You're like on shows with us doing all this shit. It's fun. It's cool. I'd love to see your growth, especially in the space, considering, how much work you've put into it over the last, year.
Close to.
So, yeah, that's
almost.
It's coming up on some milestones for you. But, man, you really killed it during the draft. That was essential for us here at Four Feathers, on Tap Sportsnet as a whole. Really appreciated that. And again, as Ron so aptly shouted out earlier, I encourage fans to go tune in and read everything that you put together on all that draft stuff and everything else that you write here. But just more importantly, draft times, and Ron and I can attest to this, can be just an absolute banger of a day. It's sort of like the trade deadline, or just a day where a lot of news is coming out and you didn't miss a beat. So stick taps to you. It takes a lot of teamwork around here to get all this content out, and you killed it, Cowboy. So there's my stick tap. Ron, back to you if you want it, or you can toss it to Cowboy. But
I'll take it really quick because I'll give a double down honorable mention to Cowboy, because he's killing it and he continues to kill it. And if you haven't followed him already, at BHawk Cowboy on the socials, again, you can find all of his great work over at ontapsportsnet.com. You're doing it, man. You're doing incredible stuff, and we appreciate you so much. And you are a very valuable member of this team, and we appreciate you. being a part of this journey that is Four Feathers Podcast. Guys,
We got a third feather now, Ron. We got a third feather again.
We do. We finally have a third feather again, a consistent third feather that is Blackhawks Cowboy. I'm gonna tweak our stick taps a little bit. I'm gonna give it to Roman Kanserov. I like the number choice. I think 80's fun. Here's why. I did my research because I was the one that put out the numbers article because that's my thing, weird sicko psychopath, and this is what I do. He's only the second player in Blackhawks history to wear number 80 after Antoine Vermette.
Yep, I knew you were
And
going
it's
with that.
kind of fun. And I think it's an opportunity for Roman Kanserov to truly make a legacy for himself with a certain number.
Yeah.
Because I think any other number it would have been a little tainted if it's Kopetsky or somebody else that wore it. No, 80. It's Vermette was here for half a season and he won a Stanley Cup and it was awesome. But like Roman Kanserov can make this thing a legacy. You can have a legacy number in Chicago, and I think that's really really cool. And he wore number 8 in the KHL, so AT kind of makes sense as a little bit of a pivot. Sasha Pavelski, kind of the same thing. He wore number 9 in college. 90's a little bit of the pivot for him as well. So I think that was kind of cool. That was a little bit of research when I was doing the article, and that's why that's my stick tap is Roman Kanserov. Number 80 looks fun. And hey, I hope it's great, and I hope there's 80 jerseys everywhere in Chicago because if that's the case, he's putting up 30 goals a season, and the Blackhawks are really, 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 really good. And we like that. We like that.
Change the stigma.
Change the stigma, indeed, Cowboy. Cowboy, it's your turn.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you guys for all the kind words. Means a lot. You guys gave me a great chance very early on, and what I would call a career, whatever. But it's been awesome. Almost a year. This August will be a year. So
hell yeah!
So it's been awesome though. I got 2 sick taps. First of all, Daniel Schwartzy. This is only my second time, but you're officially in your 40s, according to this.
Yes, he is.
Schwartzy!
Happy birthday,
Congrats to you.
Schwartzy.
And then also, I would like to give a big sick tap, even though he's not here anymore, Mr. McGregor, for his excellent coverage of what it was. We shouted him out earlier, but obviously you wish it was under better circumstances, but he has made some great work. He's got a great YouTube channel, very intelligent, knows a lot about the team. And so, yeah, that's my sick tap. Big shout out. And also in the comments again, big shout out to Big Gun for razzing on me a little bit. Pretty funny. Having a good time reading those comments. So those are my, I guess, 3 sick taps. And then, of course, a big thank you to Ron and Tony.
All the sick taps. It's Cowboy. You're already acclimated. You get it. You know where the stick taps go, and you know how to ruffle some feathers. You are acclimated already to the Four Feathers Podcast. Genuinely, the gentlemen, this was such a fun show. Overdue. We've been meaning to get on the airwaves. There's been so much happening in Blackhawks fandom in terms of the team. We're gonna be back many times before the preseason. We can't wait to get Ryan back on, some other good guests, hopefully. Prospect Don, who's a good friend of ours as well, and others before it is all said and done. Because, gentlemen, what's on tap next? The August prospect camp with St. Louis. It's not going to be the Tom Curvers this year. There is no Minnesota Wild, according to reports already. So it'll just be Hawks versus the Blues for a little bit of time. And then, of course, NHL training camp. We're getting close. It's July. We're in the dog days of summer for the NHL. Football is going to be ramping up soon, as will the fall sports, including our favorite sport of hockey here at the Four Feathers Podcast. We cannot wait to see what happens with the Chicago Blackhawks. Before we sign off, I want to first off thank everybody for tuning in with us this evening. Thank you for jumping in the comment section. We appreciate the absolute hell out of every single one of you. This was a long bender of a show. This one will last you guys a couple of days. And we, again, appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll have much more content over the course of July and into August, and, of course, into September as training camp ramps up. From myself, from Blackhawks Cowboy, from Tony Marchese, we thank you. We appreciate you for tuning in. Go ahead and follow us along. Go head over to ontapsportsnet.com and at ontapsportsnet on the socials. Be sure to head over to the YouTube channel as well at ontapsportsnet. Like, subscribe, hit that bell button. You know when all of our shows go live, including us here at the Four Feathers Podcast. Follow us along at Four Feathers Pod on the socials as well. At BHawk Cowboy, at Loose on Tap, at Tony on Tap. Follow us individually as well. And don't forget to follow our great guest this evening as well, Ryan McGregor, at Ryan McGregor Shy on Twitter. And again, go subscribe to his YouTube channel. He's been an incredible addition to the Blackhawks fan experience, to the fan base, to the coverage group, whatever you want to call it. An incredible person to follow along and see what's going on. We appreciate every single one of you tuning in. And again, thank you so much. OnTapSports.com, at OnTapSports on the socials to check out what's on tap in Chicago sports. Gentlemen, what a banger. What a show. It was good to be back. Can't wait to see you guys here in the near distant future to talk about more Blackhawks stuff. And of course, what do you say? Let's go Hawks.
Let's go.
Let's go Hawks.